Chapter 243. Purple Lightning Tiger Cub. Oh my god, that's an extremely rare lightning-type beast. He's just an 8th-rate sect master, how could he have such a mount? The beast-taming sect disciples were shocked. As a sect that dealt with beasts, they naturally knew how precious and difficult it was to tame a lightning-type beast. In order to keep a low profile, Jun Changshao kept the purple lightning tiger cub in the sect master ball after arriving at Suiyang City. After the tournament, he would definitely need to ride it back to Azure Sun County. However, he didn't expect to meet the beast-taming sect master in the wilderness. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Why is it so hard to keep a low profile?" Roar. Feeling its master's thoughts, the purple lightning tiger cub roared again, scaring the animals in the forest. It would be strange if this brat could keep a low profile. Sect Master Jun had a mount, so Yixingqian had to use the crossing roaming dragon to follow behind. As for the reward, he had already handed it over. Damn it! He said angrily, if I had known, I would have stayed in the training tower to temper my body. On the way back, Jun Changshao opened the store and considered whether to spend the excess contribution points or buy a few bottles of aptitude modification liquid. Forget it, I'll just go with the flow. He didn't want to waste his contribution points and bought 4 bottles of aptitude modification liquid. His contribution points dropped from 1155 to 955. A hidden mission and a side mission. Sect leader Jun felt very comfortable and secure when his contribution points, which were about to hit rock bottom, were once again maxed out. Come to Pingyang County to participate in the tournament. Earn 500 contribution points and 100 spirit stones. Jun Changshao said happily, it's worth it. What about high-grade martial techniques? To be honest, he didn't think much of them. After all, they were too far away from the store. Especially the martial techniques he obtained from the tournament in Azure Sun County. If it wasn't for the fact that he thought it was too hard, he would have thrown it into the toilet. The system said, there are many counties in the Falling Star continent. Every once in a while, there will be a tournament. Host can send more disciples to participate. It can be a way to earn resources. Tisk, Jun Changshao rolled his eyes and said, it's already very kind of you to not encourage me to spend contribution points. Why would you take the initiative to find me a way to earn resources? The system said seriously, my mission is to assist the host in building the Iron Bone clan into the strongest clan. Alright. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and pondered, let the disciples participate in the intersect tournament. Not only can they earn spirit stones, they can also engage in actual combat. It's not a bad idea. However, she couldn't follow them around and run around. The system replied, under normal circumstances, there is no need for the sect master to personally attend the intersect tournament. Disciples only need to provide proof of their sect to register for the tournament. Go back and ask Family Head AI if there are any other counties that are going to host a competition like the intersect tournament. 2 days later, Jun Changshao returned to Azure Sun County. However, he didn't immediately return to the sect. Instead, he made a trip to Huyang City. Sect Master Jun went to participate in the Fair Sun County's intersect tournament. Yes. How's the battle record? He won a championship so casually. Caw. AI Shang was dumbfounded. He won a championship so casually. What a flirtatious thing to say. Family Head AI. Jun Changshao said, do you know that other counties have this kind of intersect tournament that rewards spirit stones? The corner of AI Shang's mouth twitched, and he said, Sect Master Jun still wants disciples to participate in the tournament. Jun's group of good-for-nothing disciples can't cultivate in the sect all day long. It's necessary for them to go to the Jianghu when appropriate. Jun Changshao said. AI Shang, your group of good-for-nothing disciples had completely defeated the direct disciples of Haoqi sect. If they were to become useful, wouldn't they be able to ascend to the heavens and enter the earth? That's right. AI Shang agreed, cultivating in seclusion is equivalent to building a car behind closed doors. Only by going to the Jianghu to gain experience can they truly grow. He paused for a moment, then said, in a few days, Huayang County will hold a martial arts competition. The nature is similar to the inter-sect tournament, and the rewards are quite generous. Is that so? Jun Changxiao's interest was piqued. Ai Shang said seriously, there are many evil sects in Huayang County, and many people have died in previous inter-sect tournaments. I don't recommend Sect Master Jun to send disciples to participate. Moreover. He paused for a moment, then said in a low voice, I just received news that the Black Eagle Hall, a seventh-rate sect in Huayang County, was annihilated overnight. It doesn't seem to be peaceful. It had been more than half a month, and he only received news now. The rate of information gathering was really low. Oh. Jun Changxiao nodded and said, are there any other countries? Let me think about it. Ai Shang thought for a moment, then said 4 counties one after another. Some were closer, some were farther, but they all held inter-sect tournaments similar to the inter-sect tournament. After getting the information he wanted, Jun Changxiao cupped his hands and said, there are still important matters to attend to in the sect. Jun will take his leave first. Family head Ai hurriedly sent him off, then secretly shook his head and said, Sect Master Jun really won the inter-sect tournament of Pingyang County so easily? Family head Ai Shang walked over and said, second brother, who was purchasing medicinal herbs in Pingyang County, sent a messenger pigeon to deliver the latest news about the inter-sect tournament. Oh. Ai Shang hurriedly took the letter. The details of the tournament were written on it. After reading it, he said in a daze, this is really very casual. After leaving Huyang City, Jun Changxiao rode the purple lightning tiger cub back to Iron Bone. Yi Xingqian was the first to arrive. At this moment, he was surrounded by a group of disciples, who were asking about the situation. Do you even need to say it? Su Xiaoma said at the top of his voice, with junior martial brother Yi, you will definitely win the championship. Junior martial brother Yi, senior martial brother, is mighty. All the disciples cheered. Yi Xingqian ignored them, walked out of the crowd, and headed to the training tower. In his opinion, participating in the inter-sect tournament of Pingyang County was a complete waste of time and life. However, this kind of scene where he was sent off when he went out and was welcomed when he came back, he was slightly touched. Qingyang. Sitting on the 1,000-year-old Phoebe chair in the main hall, Jun Changxiao said, in a few days, there will be a martial tournament in Pingyang County. You should go and participate. Sect Master. Li Qingyang said weakly, can you let the other junior martial brothers go? I want to cultivate properly for a period of time. Jun Changxiao said, the other disciples also need to go to other counties to participate in the inter-sect tournament. Understood. Li Qingyang said, I will definitely achieve good results. Jun Changxiao interlocked his fingers and said, I only have one request. Become the champion of the martial tournament. Yes. Li Qingyang said seriously, I will not disappoint Sect Master. Jun Changxiao then called Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, and the others over, and assigned them tasks to participate in the inter-sect tournament of each county. There was only one request, which was to be the champion of each tournament and bring the reward back to the sect. Of course. For the sake of safety, he specially instructed them that even if their opponents were weak, they had to appear as if it was very difficult to win, so as to avoid being too high profile and being targeted by people with ulterior motives. This was not enough. Jun Changxiao then mobilized the members of the Drizzle Hall and asked them to follow them secretly. These inner disciples were his precious treasures. They could go out to train, but they must be absolutely safe. Chapter 244. A few days later. Li Qingyang set off first. His mission was to become the champion of the Huayang County Martial Arts Competition. Li Qingyang had a steady and kind personality. Jun Changxiao asked him to participate in the dangerous competition because he wanted to hone his skills. After joining the sect, Li Qingyang had changed a lot. Especially when dealing with enemies, he had shown the necessary decisiveness. However, he was not sharp enough. For example, when he fought with the leader of the Black Eagle Hall, he could have killed him directly because he was kind enough to let the enemy escape. Kindness was a virtue. Being kind was also a virtue. Jun Changshao didn't want his disciples to be cold-blooded and heartless. He also didn't want them to be kind to their enemies. Because that wasn't a kind Virgin Mary, but a brainless Virgin Mary. After Li Qingyang set off, the 5 gold medal members followed him in the dark to protect him at all times. The next day, Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, and the others set off early because the martial arts competition was far away. They were also followed by the members of the Drizzle Hall. Jun Changshao focused on teaching the disciples. At the same time, he rewarded Yixingqian with 10 15x qi gathering pills and 10 spiritual stones. 100 pills became 10 pills. This was a bit stingy. However, the 15x qi gathering pills made Yixingqian very satisfied. The 3-month martial arts competition is coming soon. Jun Changshao murmured, the champion can add a few spiritual stones as a reward. After this decision was passed down, the disciples immediately became more enthusiastic in their cultivation. Li Qingyang and the others went to participate in various competitions. Jun Changshao was cultivating, teaching the disciples, and training in the training tower. The 15x qi gathering pills and spiritual stones were always provided. A few days later, relying on the resources and the powerful Yi Jing, sect leader Jun reached the 6th grade from the 5th grade. Currently, he was equal to Li Luoqiu, who had just reached the 6th grade. He was now the strongest in the sect. Bang! His fist landed on the testing machine, and the strength displayed on the screen was 9,000. A rank 5 martial master's strength was around 90,000. Now that he had broken through to rank 6, his strength had increased by 7,000 pounds, which was 1,000 pounds more than the upper limit. AI. Jun Changshao was not satisfied. When can I reach the level where I can directly use the Green Dragon Crescent Blade without using the force-increasing talisman? The system said, based on the increase in power brought by the host's realm, only by breaking through to Wuzong can the host meet the requirements. Can't he be a martial master? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, the minimum requirement for the Green Dragon Crescent Blade is 150,000 jin. Since the host is a peak martial master, his strength is only around 130,000 jin. It is definitely not possible. Only 130,000? Jun Changshao shook his head. The system was speechless. The top geniuses of the Falling Star continent only have a strength of around 100,000 at the martial master level. The host's strength is 20 to 30,000 higher than theirs. What's there to be dissatisfied about? Damn it! Jun Changshao said, you've finally said something I like to hear. The system, 3 days later. Li Qingyang returned. When he left, he was clean, and when he returned, he was clean as well. Second senior brother. The disciples who were cultivating surrounded him and asked, how was it? Not bad. Li Qingyang smiled and said, I won the championship. Second senior brother is mighty. The disciples cheered again. The pride of being a disciple of the Iron Bone sect grew even stronger. Sect master. Li Qingyang walked into the main hall and handed over 50 spirit stones and a mid-tier weapon. He said, this is the reward for the champion of the Huaying County Martial Arts Competition. Yes. Jun Changshao took the 40 spirit stones and said, was it difficult? No. Li Qingyang was disappointed. The Huaying County Martial Arts Competition has an age restriction. No one above 20 can participate. The strongest participant is only a 7th rank martial disciple. That's really weak. Jun Changshao said, did you kill anyone? The martial arts competition doesn't care about life and death. I met many evil sect martial artists who attacked me viciously. In the end, I killed them all. Li Qingyang said. Jun Changshao said with satisfaction, not bad, not bad. Sect Master. Li Qingyang said, I'm worried that I'll offend a few evil sects and cause trouble for my Iron Bone sect. Jun Changshao touched his nose and said, if they dare to come, they won't be able to go back. Sect Master. At this time, Zhang Wei hurriedly ran in from outside and said, there's a guy who calls himself an elder of the Ghost Hand sect. He's making a ruckus outside. Li Qingyang said seriously, Sect Master, the Ghost Hands sect is a 7th-rank evil sect in Huayin County. The participants that I killed were from this sect. TSK. Jun Changshao said, trouble came quite quickly. After saying that, he got up and walked out. Outside the sect. The elder of the Ghost Hands sect stood proudly with his hands behind his back. His eyes flashed with a sinister light. One look and you could tell that he was a typical evil sect member. He was very angry now. Because the disciples that participated in the martial arts competition were killed by the Iron Bone sect's Li Qingyang. What made him even angrier was that he had waited outside the city for half a day, but that guy still hadn't appeared. After killing an evil sect disciple, Li Qingyang definitely knew that he would get into trouble, so he disguised himself when he came out. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have returned safely. Creak. The closed red door opened. Jun Changshao walked out and smiled, you are. Humph, Gui Jianqiu said coldly, Huayin County's Ghost Hands sect's 4th elder, Song Si. Seeking death? This name was similar to Ai Shua's. Brat. Song Si said indifferently, looking at how you're dressed, could it be that you're the leader of the Iron Bone sect? That's right. Sect Master Jun smiled, Elder Song, why do you have time to visit my Iron Bone sect from so far away? Visit my ass. Song Si said in a low voice, call out your sect's Li Qingyang, this old man wants to take his life. As expected of someone from an evil sect, direct and straightforward. Jun Changshao said, Elder Song is still a high-ranking member of the sect, coming to my Iron Bone sect to take my disciple's life is a bit inappropriate. Song Si sneered, daring to kill my Ghost Hands sect's disciple, no matter who he is, this old man must kill him personally. How about this? Jun Changshao said, this seat and Elder Song will exchange blows. He had just broken through to a 6th-grade martial master, his hands were itchy. GGG. Song Si laughed strangely, Sect Master Jun, this old man will only take people's lives, there is no such thing as exchanging blows. Alright then. Jun Changshao said, this seat will let Elder Song take my life. Killing my sect's disciple, having the sect master pay with his life is not bad. Song Si said indifferently, here or at your sect's martial arts field. Here will do. Jun Changshao said, this seat is afraid that blood will stain the stone floor. GGG. Song Si laughed strangely, Sect Master Jun is a particular person. Schwa. Suddenly, Jun Changshao used the ghost shadow steps and appeared in front of him, saying eerily, Elder Song, don't misunderstand, this seat is afraid that your blood will stain the stone floor. Song Si's smile froze, his eyes filled with shock. This guy's speed is so fast that I can't even see how he got close. Schwa. At this time, Jun Changshao swung his fist. With the support of the rupturing fist, the strength carried easily broke through 100,000 jin. Not good, boom. Chapter 245. Jun Changshao, who had broken through to the 6th-grade martial master, could easily break through 100,000 jin of strength with any martial technique. This was quite terrifying. One must know that the most ordinary 1st-grade wuzong only had 100,000 jin of strength. For him to be able to achieve this at his current level, the increase would definitely exceed 6,000 jin. In other words, although sect leader Jun was only a 6th-grade martial master, he already had the strength of an ordinary wuzong. If he used the strength-increasing talisman, he would be even more brutal. Li Luoqiu, who was also a 6th grade martial master, definitely did not have such a strong strength. Thus, without a doubt, the strongest person in Iron Bone was sect leader Jun Yixingchen. He was only strong in martial arts experience. In terms of true strength, he was far from being able to compare. Even a sword cultivator like Zhou Hong, if he did not rely on the Ling Jian God technique, would be lacking. Sect leader Jun was strong, but he rarely fought. After all, he had a group of disciples, so he did not need to use his full strength unless he was facing a strong enemy. The Ghost Hand sect elder in front of him was on the same level as him, so he had to make a move. Song Si was a 3rd grade martial master, but his strength was only 50,000. The difference was 2 times. How could he fight? There was no way. Jun Changshao used the exploding fist, and with the speed of his strength, it was hard for him to dodge. He could only take the fist on his abdomen. In an instant, Song Si's eyes popped out. Spiritual energy spread from his back, and a fist-sized hole appeared in his clothes. Wah! Blood spurted out, and a heart-wrenching pain assaulted his heart. Jun Changxiao's fist landed on Song Si's body. Although it did not send him flying, it still injured him. And this was after he pulled back a bit, or else he would have died. Pa! His other hand reached out and grabbed Song Si's neck, pulling him in front of him. Jun Changxiao's eyes were cold. You dare to come to my iron bone and take my disciple's life, you must be tired of living. Killing intent filled the air, and it was incomparably cold. In front of his disciples, he could appear to be very easygoing and would occasionally be mischievous. However, in front of his enemies, he was definitely like a demon god. Jun Changxiao had completely transformed. He was no longer a law-abiding earthling, but a true native of the Falling Star continent. It's not in my character to adapt. I will have the Starfall continent adapt to me. Anyone who dares to bully and humiliate me will have to pay the price. This was what he had told the system after he had slaughtered hundreds of bandits from the Black Wind Stockade. Exterminate the Spirit Spring Sect. Mie Drizzle Building. Annihilate Blackhawk Hall. Everything Jun Changxiao did showed that he wanted the Falling Star continent to adapt to him, rather than to adapt to the Falling Star continent. His 5 fingers gradually tightened, and the pain and fear of death instantly filled Song Si's body. His eyes were filled with terror as he said, Don't kill me, you don't want to die. Jun Changxiao asked coldly. If one could live, who would want to die? As the force increased, Song Si felt as if half of his body was already stepping on the gates of hell. That experience of being infinitely close to death was really terrifying. As an elder of the Ghost Hand sect, he had never blinked when killing people. Sometimes, he would even cruelly torture his opponents to let them experience the taste of death. Now that it was his turn, good and evil would be repaid. If one didn't believe it, look up and see who was spared by the heavens. No. I want to die. Song Si hadn't completely given up his desire to live. He let out a pleading voice from his painful throat. Jun Changxiao relaxed a little and said coldly, If you don't want to die, be my servant. The moment the power of death disappeared, Song Si felt as if he had stepped out of the gates of hell again. That feeling of escaping from death was really the happiest thing in life. Okay. I'll be your servant. He tried his best to speak clearly, fearing that the other party couldn't hear him and would kill him in the next second. Swish! Jun Changxiao retracted his hand. Plop! Song Si was relieved and directly collapsed to the ground. I'm still alive. Jun Changxiao said coldly, From today onwards, you are my servant. What a servant has to do is listen to me. Otherwise, you'll suffer a fate worse than death. Understood. Song Si said weakly. As long as he could live, he wouldn't care about anything else. Jun Changxiao squatted down and put one hand on his shoulder. His gaze was cold as he said, How can this lord believe you? Very simple. Lu Qianqian had unknowingly leaned against the door and said indifferently, "Make him hand over his soul source." Soul source? Jun Changshao had never heard of it. The system said, soul source is a martial cultivator's lifeline. If one can grasp it, one's soul can be scattered with just a thought. Was it that awesome? Come. Jun Changshao said, hand over your soul source and this lord will spare your life. Song Si's gaze was conflicted, but he felt the palm on his shoulder increase in strength. He said in fear, I'll hand it over. Saying that, his mind connected with his soul and pulled out a thread-like object from his body. This was the soul source. An existence that was above the 3 souls and 7 spirits. The system said, hold it in your hand and keep it in your space ring. Jun Changshao reached out and grabbed the soul source, then pulled it out. With a thought, he kept it in his space ring. Okay. Everything was done. He had already grasped Song Si's lifeline. As long as his mind entered the space ring and crushed the soul source, he would die and his soul would scatter. Of course. If the soul source was safe and sound, the martial cultivator under control would not be harmed at all. Those who needed to eat would eat, and those who needed to sleep would sleep. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, return to the Ghost Hands sect and continue to be an elder. When I need you, this lord will contact you. Yes, call me master. Yes, master, Song Si stood up with difficulty. He dragged his injured body and weakly walked down the mountain step by step. At that moment, he really wanted to cry. Why didn't I act like nothing happened? Why did I have to come to Iron Bone? Now it's good. Not only did he not kill him, his soul source was also controlled by the Iron Bone sect leader and became a servant. Under the setting sun, Song Si's shadow was pulled infinitely long. It was as if he had aged a few decades. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden quest, Obedient. You have gained 100 contribution points. Ding! Contribution points, 10501000. Ding! Sect contribution points overflow. Jun Changshao was stunned, this is also considered a hidden quest. The system said, the host is holding his soul source, so he will naturally obey. Oh. Jun Changshao understood and laughed, I've earned it. Sect leader. Lu Qianqian asked, why didn't you kill him? Jun Changshao rubbed his nose, and said, if I kill him, the Ghost Hands sect will definitely not let this matter rest. This lord does not want to cause trouble. He had just mobilized so many people to destroy a Black Eagle Hall, and now he was going to destroy a Ghost Hands sect. What's more, if he went to destroy this and that every day, how could he develop the sect in a low-key manner? Chapter 246. Jun Changshao didn't kill Song Si because he didn't want to cause trouble. But he couldn't just let him go like that. If he went back and complained, the Ghost Hands sect would definitely harass him again. So he could only make him his servant and control him. This way, he could avoid future troubles. But, he never thought that controlling that guy's soul would actually allow him to complete a hidden mission. Lu Qianqian said, sect leader has matured a lot. Not killing Song Si, but controlling him, this was no doubt the most perfect way to deal with him. Jun Changshao walked to the front of the door and stood half a meter away from her. He gave her a side profile and said with a smile, the more you interact with me, the more you'll realize that such a mature man is worth entrusting your life to. Lu Qianqian's eyes turned cold. Jun Changshao hurriedly retreated. As soon as he stepped into the sect, he kicked the soccer ball that was flying towards him back. Then, with a bang, the soccer ball hit Li Fei's face and smashed him against the wall. Awesome! Su Xiaoma and the others were full of admiration. The only one who came to cause trouble was Song Si from the Ghost Hands sect, so Xiao Ziji's participation in the tournament could be considered a perfect ending. At night, Jun Changshao opened the data panel and whispered, there's an extra 50 points, let's get rid of it first. The system said, impulse is the devil. Ha! This was the first time it took the initiative to persuade the host to calm down. Jun Changshao said, don't worry, after going through so many refreshes, my heart is already as calm as water. Even if I can't get anything good, I won't easily get carried away. The system said, I hope so. Schwa. Jun Changxiao's mind moved, and the system store was quickly replaced by new products. However, after looking through row after row, his heart turned cold. Other than daily necessities, there was nothing. What was even worse was that there was a product called incubator. Wait a minute. Incubator? Jun Changxiao was startled, and hurriedly opened the details item, incubator. Description: as long as there is enough crystal core energy, it can hatch any egg in the world, especially beast eggs in the world of martial arts. Advantage: after hatching, the cub will automatically sign a contract with the host. Special effect: during the incubation process, there is a certain chance that the baby beast inside will mutate, greatly increasing its strength. Price: 300 contribution points. Fuck. Jun Changxiao said, an incubator is even more expensive than the green dragon crescent blade. The system said, this is a product that can hatch beast eggs. After success, not only will a contract be automatically signed, there is also a chance for the cub to mutate. 300 contribution points is considered cheap. Didn't the host obtain a dragon egg in Death Valley? Recommended purchase index, I know. Jun Changxiao interrupted, isn't it just 5 stars? The system was quite pleased. The host has learned how to answer first. Your IQ has improved. Scram. Jun Changxiao rubbed his chin and murmured, it's been a while since I brought the dragon egg back, but I don't know how to hatch it. It's not a bad idea to buy this thing. However, isn't it a little ugly? As for the contract beasts, Jun Changxiao only cared about their appearance. After all, they had face when they went out. The system was speechless. The fire dragon beast has a huge body and is also a fire-type beast. If the host rides it out, the rate of turning heads will definitely be 100%. That's true. Jun Changxiao said, buy it. Ding. The host has spent 300 contribution points and obtained an incubator X1. It has been transported into the space ring. Ding. Sect contribution points, 7401000. His soul entered the space ring. Looking at the incubator that was more than 2 meters tall and 2 meters wide, the corner of Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. So big? The system said, the eggs laid by high-level beasts are about the size of a small mountain. This incubator can be considered a small one. Jun Changxiao walked around the incubator and found a groove at the base. He immediately realized that this was the place to charge the crystal core. Let's give it a try. Returning to the outside world, he placed the machine in the study room. Then, he carried the dragon egg over, opened the door of the incubator, and threw it into the slot in the center. The system said, there are high-quality incubators in the store. Not only can they hatch many eggs at the same time, but the host can also control the young beasts to sign a contract with others after hatching. Damn! Jun Changxiao said in shock, this is awesome. Hatching many eggs at the same time could also decide who to sign a contract with. As long as he could find enough eggs and give one to each disciple, the scene would definitely be shocking. The system said, this kind of high-level incubator can only be refreshed in the store above the middle level. Scram as far as you can. Jun Changxiao said. After throwing the dragon egg in, the next step was to fill it with the energy of the crystal core to start the incubation. However, when Sect leader Jun used 10 crystal cores to fill the incubation energy, he clicked on the 4 words, start incubation, but there was no movement. Could it be that he bought a fake? The system said, this egg was laid by the fire dragon beast. The host can't incubate it with a middle level 1 crystal core. It turned out that incubating a beast egg depended on the level of the crystal core. Jun Changshao drew back the energy inside and refilled it. This time, he used 10 middle-level 9 crystal cores. He pressed the switch, but there was still no movement. The system said in surprise, this level of crystal core should be able to incubate the fire dragon beast egg. Jun Changshao collapsed. I must have bought a fake. The system said, host, change it again and try using a high-level crystal core. No way. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. That's quite precious. Using it to incubate a fire dragon beast egg, isn't it a bit of a loss? The system said, you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing the child. Maybe the host is lucky and can hatch a kun. Damn. Jun Changshao said, you've watched too many commercials. However, thinking about the Dao Realm kun, Demon kun, and Tribulation Crossing Bone kun, he suddenly felt a little excited. Come. Jun Changshao drew back the energy of the crystal core again. He took out 10 high-level crystal cores and poured them all in. The light came on again. Jun Changshao rubbed his hands and placed them on the round button. Just like the voice of China Coach, he was making a difficult decision whether to press the button or not. Pa! The student's dream turned around. Huff, huff. In an instant, the incubator spewed out a type of spiritual energy, which instantly occupied the interior and completely enveloped the dragon egg. Beep! Beep! A soft sound rang, and the LED screen on the chassis showed the words incubation time, 0/15 days. Mutation rate, 1/100. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Is this mutation rate 1/100? That's right, the system said. Jun Changshao said frantically, what's the difference between this and not mutating? Even if he sucked in luck for a while, he did not think that a 1/100 chance of mutating the dragon egg. The system said, if you want to increase the mutation rate, you can pour in crystal core energy during the incubation process. How much? Jun Changshao asked. The system said, the host has to find out the specifics yourself. Okay. Jun Changshao took out a middle-level crystal core that he had just collected and poured the energy into the groove. There was no reaction. He continued to pour in the remaining 9 crystals, and the mutation rate finally jumped from 1 to 2. Jun Changshao broke down, 10 middle-level crystals can only increase it by 1 point. To reach 100%, I still need 980 crystals. If it was a lower-level crystal core, not to mention 980, even if it was 10,000, he would not feel the pinch. But with so many middle-level crystals, the price was very expensive. To invest so much for an egg, was it worth it? The system said, if the host doesn't spend a single cent, there won't even be a chance of failure. How can the kun hatch then? Chapter 247. If the host doesn't spend a single cent, he won't even have the chance to fail. How can he hatch a leviathan? This sentence was like a sharp sword, ruthlessly stabbing into Jun Changshao's heart. It was so painful that he hurriedly covered his chest. That's right. Not spending money and still wanting a leviathan. That would probably only appear in advertisements or in dreams. Isn't it just spending money? Jun Changshao said, it's not like I don't have it. His temper flared. He picked out 51st grade crystal nuclei from his interspatial ring and filled them all in. The mutation rate increased from 2 to 3. Not bad. 51st grade crystal nuclei only increased by 1 point. Fuck. Jun Changshao collapsed. Isn't it supposed to increase by 1 point from 10? How did it become 50? The system said, if the host wants to increase it to 4 points, I'm afraid you'll need to fill in 100 nuclei. That's too much money. Jun Changshao went crazy. Although he had money, he couldn't afford to spend double the amount of crystal nuclei. The system said, the host can try using higher-grade crystal nuclei instead of using lower-grade crystal nuclei. Jun Changshao was about to cry. Higher-grade crystal nuclei were expensive. Even if it could increase the mutation rate, the cost would also increase. Forget it, forget it. Since he had thrown in so many crystal nuclei, he definitely couldn't give up. He had to at least increase it to 50% or more. In order to get a chance to make a mistake, Sect leader June got carried away and took out 10 fifth-grade crystal nuclei. After filling in all of them, the mutation rate increased from 3 to 4. However, to increase from 4 to 5, he used 55th-grade crystal nuclei. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. To let a fire dragon egg mutate, the money spent is more than the money spent by the Chinese online and mobile game manufacturers. The system urged, since you've taken this step, the host shouldn't give up halfway. Go and splurge boldly. Jun Changxiao was speechless. The system continued, only a higher-grade crystal nuclei can start the incubation. This dragon egg is definitely extraordinary. If it mutates, the host's benefits will be greater than the cost. These words made Jun Changxiao's heart palpitate. Then, he took out the crystal cores again and began to crazily fill the slots of the incubator with energy. Other than the high-ranked crystal nuclei that had not been used for the time being, all the low-ranked crystal nuclei and mid-ranked crystal nuclei were transported inside. In the end, there were only a few dozen high-quality crystal nuclei left in the spatial ring. All the low and mid-quality crystal nuclei had been sent in, and there were at least 600 to 700 of them. Mutation rate increased from 5 to 10. Almost 1,000 crystallic nuclei were used, but it only increased by 9%. This made Jun Changxiao deeply understand what it meant to burn money. One had to know. Selling 500 crystal cores to the AI family's patriarch was worth 10 million. These nearly 1,000 crystal nuclei were worth at least 20 million at the very least, but he burned them all in a short while. Calm down, calm down. Jun Changxiao took a deep breath and said, this is a bottomless pit. We can't fill it up anymore. He really wanted to give up, but he couldn't control his hands at all. In the end, he sent in all the high-ranked crystal nuclei, including the fire dragon's crystal nuclei and the stone golem's crystal nuclei. When the crystal nuclei that were comparable to Wuzong fused into the incubator, the mutation rate on the screen continued to rise. However, when the fire dragon's crystal nuclei were poured in, it directly increased from 22 to 72. It increased by a full 50 points. Jun Changxiao was shocked. What's going on? The system was silent for a moment before saying, if I'm not wrong, the fire dragon's crystal nuclei and the dragon egg's attributes are compatible, which greatly stimulated the mutation rate. Jun Changxiao seemed to have understood something, and said, you mean, if the dragon egg is incubated with the dragon's crystal nuclei, the mutation rate will be higher than other crystal nuclei? It should be like this. The system said. Jun Changxiao said, I just poured in a lot of young fire dragon's crystal nuclei, why didn't it increase by that much? Maybe the level is too low. Jun Changxiao exhaled, and he completely calmed down. He was not at all worried right now, because he had thrown in all the crystal nuclei. Pa! With both hands on the transparent glass-like surface of the incubator, Jun Changxiao said in a deep tone, I used up all of my crystal nuclei, the operation must fail to hatch the Kuan. The system said, I feel that, with the host's luck in refreshing the contribution points, it will be safe to reach at least 99%. Otherwise, if it fails, the crystal nuclei that were thrown in will all flow to the west. Jun Changxiao did not care if it flowed to the west or east, and said, you mean, I still have to spend money to buy crystal nuclei to continue incubating? Yes. Do you know how much those crystal nuclei cost? Do you know that even if I exchange all the money on me for crystal nuclei, it's impossible to increase it to 99%? Facing Jun Changxiao's continuous questioning, the system said calmly, if the host incubates a Dao Realm Kuan, Demon Kuan, Tribulation Bone Kuan, or the strongest beast in the mountain and sea scripture that feeds on Kuan, everything will be worth it. After a long time, Jun Changxiao said, that makes sense. The next day, Jun Changxiao went to Huyang City and found AI Shangyao. The first thing he said was, June wants to buy back the crystal nuclei that he sold previously at the original price. Ai Shangyao was dumbfounded. Sold and then bought back, what kind of operation was sect leader June? Of course. June Changshao said, if your shop has anything related to dragon beasts, please sell it to June if it's of the 5th grade or higher. Ai Shangyao's mouth twitched. Sect leader June, crystal nuclei related to dragon beasts are extremely rare, and they have to be of the 5th grade. Not to mention Azure Sun County, even the 8th grade Pingyang County might not have them. Which county has them? June Changshao asked. Ai Shangyao said, in the Falling Star continent, as long as there is something with the word dragon, it is a rare treasure. I'm afraid that only the 5th grade counties sell it. How long will it take to reach the 5th grade county closest to our Azure Sun County? June Changshao asked. If you ride a wind-type beast, it will take at least a month. Ai Shangyao said. A month? June Changshao was on the verge of collapse. Wind-type beasts were known for their speed. If it took a month, he didn't think that he could reach there in 15 days riding on the violet lightning tiger cub. Forget it, forget it. I'll just buy back the crystal nuclei I sold and spend 20 million to buy some other high-grade crystal nuclei. The crystal nuclei shop run by the AI family didn't have many high-grade crystal nuclei. June Changshao only bought 20 or so high-grade crystal nuclei. Hence, he went to other crystal nuclei shops. In the end, he visited all the crystal nuclei shops in the market and only sold 50 or so high-grade crystal nuclei. However, he spent more than 20 million. Crystal nuclei that were comparable to Wuzong started at 400,000. That's all I can do. It's up to fate whether I can get them cheaper or not. June Changshao didn't go to other cities and returned to the sect. Coincidentally, he met Long Xiang at the martial arts field. In the Falling Star continent, anything with the word dragon is a rare treasure. AI family head's words sounded in his ears. June Changshao almost couldn't hold back. He wanted to carry this disciple with the surname Long to the incubator and test it with his blood. Sigh. I'm about to go crazy. June Changshao shook his head and got up to return to the inner court. Long Xiang said with a blank face, Sect Master's gaze was a bit strange just now. How can he not be strange when he almost bled you? After returning to the study, June Changshao threw in all the crystal nuclei worth 30 million. The mutation rate increased from 72 to 85. He really wanted to continue increasing it to 100 points, but his ability was limited. He could only bow to fate helplessly. Moreover, 85% was already very high. It couldn't be a coincidence that it failed, right? Thinking back to the time when he played games, he failed to refine the equipment even when the success rate was higher than 95%. Sect Master June trembled. Chapter 248. When it reached 85 points, June Changshao gave up on putting in more crystal nuclei. There was no other way. He only had 10 to 20 million left. If he invested all of it, he would probably only be able to increase it by 1 or 2 points. The rest was up to fate. Even if it was only 1%, there was still a possibility of mutation. But he still worked hard to increase the mutation rate. He wanted to prove that he was not relying on the protagonist's aura, but on burning money. What if it failed? If it still failed at 85%, it would be a joke. I only failed 15 times out of 101. 5 times out of 10. I shouldn't be so unlucky. June Changshao comforted himself. The system said, if the host's mutation rate is 1. 5 times, it will definitely be a complete failure. Damn. Can you not hurt me? June Changshao ignored it and quietly waited for the incubation time to arrive. Only 1 day had passed, and there were still 14 days left. It was a little long, so he put his mind on cultivation and managing the disciples. The next day. Su Xiaoma returned from participating in the inter-sect competition in the outer counties. He left clean, but came back covered in dust. It was obvious that he had rushed back too quickly. The disciples hurriedly gathered around. When they saw the champion's medal around their senior brother's neck, they immediately cheered. The two senior brothers went to different counties and won first place consecutively. This definitely boosted the morale of the Iron Bone disciples, and filled them with hope for the future. Su Xiaoma went to see the sect leader and handed over the champion's reward. He would not hide it, because without the sect leader's nurturing, he would not be where he was today, and it would not be easy for him to win the championship. Of course, Jun Changshao would not treat him unfairly. He gave Su Xiaoma 10 spirit stones. He saved the rest and gave them to the other disciples as rewards for various tests. In the next few days, Li Fei and Tian Qi also returned one after another. The two did not disappoint the sect leader. They successfully won the championship of various competitions and obtained considerable martial arts resources. Although the inner disciples that Jun Changshao nurtured were only martial disciples, their strength had already reached martial master. Except for high-level competitions, they were definitely invincible in those low-level intersect competitions. There was no suspense at all. Qingyang and the other three brought a total of 100 spiritual stones. Although it's not a lot, it's still something. Jun Changshao was quite satisfied with the idea of letting his disciples participate in various sect competitions to earn resources. It was a pity. There were too few competitions, so the continuity was poor. Strange. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin and said, "Why hasn't Zueji returned yet?" The 5 inner disciples had all completed their missions and returned, except for Xiao Ziji. Could it be? Was the martial arts competition very difficult? Sect leader. At this moment, Li Luoqiu hurriedly walked into the main hall and said, "There's news from Heian County." Xiao Ziji won the intersect tournament, and on his way back, he was blocked by a large group of experts in the forest. "The situation is very bad, we need to rescue him quickly." Jun Changshao frowned. No wonder he hadn't returned yet. He had been blocked. How many? At least 100. There's no lack of experts in Wuzong among them. Jun Changshao was silent for a while and said, "Gather the Drizzle Hall members and follow me to Heian County to rescue him." Yes. Li Luoqiu hurriedly left and gathered all the Drizzle Hall members in the sect. According to Jun Changshao's instructions, the other disciples continued to cultivate. However, when they walked out of the main hall, they saw Li Qingyang, Su Xiaoma, and the others standing at the front of the martial arts practice field. Their faces were solemn. They had received the news that junior brother Xiao was blocked in Heian County. "You're going too?" Jun Changshao asked. Li Qingyang said, "Junior brother is in trouble. We're willing to go and rescue him." "All right." Jun Changshao said, "Let's go." The other disciples also wanted to go and rescue senior brother Xiao, but they knew that their strength was limited. Not only would they be useless, but they would also slow down the rescue. Therefore, they could only watch the sect leader and the others leave and pray that they could return safely. Whoosh! 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 On the way to Heian County, more than 50 Drizzle Hall members used Ghost Leap and sped forward. "Damn it!" Li Tian also followed and said angrily, "How dare they bully our Iron Bone disciples?" After experiencing the destruction of Black Eagle Hall, the childish look on this kid's face had faded. He had also become more mature. Because they were going to rescue senior brother Xiao, everyone increased their speed to the maximum. Jun Changshao rode on the young violet lightning tiger at the front. The coldness in his eyes became more and more intense. Although he did not know why so many martial artists were blocking Xiao Ziji, since they dared to offend the Iron Bone, they must be severely punished. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma followed closely behind. They were also very worried about junior brother Xiao, so they increased their speed until they could not go any faster. Junior brother Xiao. You must hold on until we arrive. Haeong County was at least 1,000 miles away from Qingyang County. Normally, it would take at least 2 to 3 days to reach there. However, Jun Changshao and his disciples arrived at Haeong County at the fastest speed. By dusk, they had already arrived at Haeong County. Li Luoqiu stood in the wilderness and looked around. After confirming the markings left by the members, she pointed to the east and said, "Sect Master, it should be in this direction. Let's go." Jun Changshao led his disciples in the east direction. In a dark corner of a valley, Xiao Ziji tore a piece of cloth from his clothes and wrapped it around his wrist with sword marks. Then, he raised his Type 88 sniper rifle with a cold gaze. His face was pale. It seemed that he not only had external injuries, but also internal injuries. After participating in the Haeong County's intersect tournament, Xiao Ziji originally wanted to return to the sect. However, he was stopped by the martial artists of the various sections. Reason? They were too heavy-handed and injured their own disciples. In fact, during the tournament, the disciples of the various sects were even more ruthless because they despised Xiao Ziji for coming from an 8th-rate sect in a 9th-rate county. The various sects of Haeong County did not care about this. As long as their disciples were bullied, the perpetrator must pay the price and be severely punished. "Kid!" Suddenly, a loud voice came from the valley. "You are now trapped in the valley. Give up struggling and obediently show yourself and hand over the God-powered handgun. Maybe you can still live." Xiao Ziji set up his Type 88 sniper rifle and aimed at the direction of the sound through the 8x scope. He found that there were more than 10 martial artists of the various sects standing there. He pulled the trigger again. The bullet silently shot out and directly killed a peak martial disciple. Then, he carried the gun and quickly moved away. "He's there. Damn it, hurry up and chase. Using hidden weapons to kill so many of our people. If we catch him, we must cut him into 8 pieces." The martial artists of the various sects all rushed over. Unfortunately, Xiao Ziji had a lot of experience in fighting in the wilderness. After shooting one person, he hid very well again. This forced them to continue to search and be even more vigilant. The valley was not big. As the crowd continued to shrink the encirclement, the area became smaller and smaller. Xiao Ziji, who had already killed many people of the various sects, knew that he would be discovered sooner or later. So, he set up his Type 88 sniper rifle again. He would kill as many as he could. Even if he died, it would not be a loss. Who? Suddenly, the sound of wind breaking came from behind him. A strong force swept over. Not good. Xiao Ziji's face changed. He hurriedly retracted his gun and dodged. However, he was still one step too late. A fist with strong spiritual power directly hit his back. Pang! He flew out and hit the stone wall. The person who attacked him from behind was a middle-aged man in white clothes. His whole body emitted a Wuzong aura. He said lightly, "For a junior to be able to hide for so long, it's very good." Wah! Xiao Ziji struggled to stand up. A mouthful of blood spurted out. "N?" The middle-aged man said in surprise, "To be able to stand up after withstanding my 200,000 pounds of strength, this is even more commendable." Xiao Ziji opened his blood-stained mouth and laughed, Don't look down on me." Schwa. The middle-aged man instantly approached and said proudly, "I would like to see how strong a disciple of the Iron Bone clan can be." The shadow of the fist instantly filled the air and mercilessly attacked Xiao Ziji. Pang! 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 Chapter 249. Boom! Xiao Ziji slammed heavily into the stone wall, blood spurting out. In a short moment, he had endured more than 20 punches from Wuzong, each punch was no less than 100,000. But he still staggered and did not fall. This was the Iron Bone clan's disciple, even if he was attacked by a storm, even if he was heavily injured, he still had to show an iron bone. Patriarch Liao is Wuzong, he can still stand, this kid's body is too strong. No wonder he won the competition. Unfortunately, no matter how strong the body is, it can't withstand strong power. The martial artists from various sects who were searching nearby gathered and witnessed the scene of Xiao Ziji being bombarded. They were all surprised that he could still stand. Not bad, not bad. Patriarch Liao said, to be able to take so many punches from me and still be standing, you're really a good seedling. Xiao Ziji's face was ferocious, the heart-wrenching pain spread throughout his body, making him unable to open his mouth to speak. If it wasn't for the experience in the training tower, he would have collapsed long ago. Little guy. Patriarch Liao said lightly, leave the iron bone and join my Qishan sect, you can avoid death. Qishan sect. A 6th-rate sect in Heian County. In terms of overall strength and number of disciples, they were stronger than Haoqi sect. This middle-aged man called Liao Cun Fong was the patriarch of Qishan sect. His strength was 2nd-grade Wuzong, which was also stronger than Qin Haoren. Leave the iron bone. Hearing the first sentence, Xiao Zuiji began to grin in pain. He suppressed his injuries and said weakly, in life, I'm a member of the Iron Bone clan, in death I'm a ghost of the Iron Bone clan. Kid, Qishan sect has the potential to become a 5th-rate sect, such a good opportunity is hard to find. Your Iron Bone is only an 8th-rate sect, participating in the sect competition, even the sect leader didn't follow, why are you so dead set? A fine bird chooses a tree to nest in, you should understand this principle. Everyone acted as a lobbyist. However, when these words entered Xiao Ziji's ears, it only made him laugh even harder. There was no denying it. The situation was very dangerous now. But leaving the iron bone and changing allegiance, even death was not an option. Shua. Liao Zuanfang raised his hand. Under the convergence of his spiritual energy, he grabbed the Type 88 sniper rifle that had fallen not far away. Everyone was envious. Only Wuzong, who had a higher understanding of the nature of heaven and earth, could use his spiritual energy to retrieve objects from a distance. Liao Cun Fang played with the sniper rifle and said indifferently, joining the Qishan sect will save you from death, but not joining the Qishan sect will only result in death. His voice was arrogant, and he had the demeanor of an expert. Xiao Ziji's eyes did not show the slightest bit of fear. Instead, he said decisively, I'm not joining. Everyone sneered. I gave you a chance to live, but you didn't know how to cherish it. You can't blame others for your death. There were also martial artists from other sects who felt that it was a pity. After all, it was a bit of a waste to kill such a good seedling. If that's the case. Liao Cun Fang said coldly, you've killed so many of my Qishan sect's disciples. Go to hell. After he finished speaking, he took a step forward and punched out with his right fist. His strength rose sharply, but it was still more than 200,000. Whoosh whoosh. A strong wind blew and messed up Xiao Ziji's black hair, but his pale face was unusually calm. This was daring to face death. Shua. At this moment, a black shadow flew out from the dark. Although the speed was fast, it was caught by Liao Cun Fang. His fist suddenly turned and punched at the incoming person. Bang! The fist that carried 200,000 pounds of strength was like a sharp sword, directly penetrating the black shadow's chest. Blood immediately splashed out. Junior brother. Xiao Ziji's eyes were about to pop out. The black shadow that suddenly rushed out from the dark was the Drizzle Hall member who was responsible for protecting him. Senior brother. Hurry. Leave. The assassin disciple breathed his last breath as soon as he finished speaking. Ah! Xiao Ziji roared angrily and gathered the remaining strength in his body to punch at Liao Cun Fang. He was going all out. Unfortunately, he couldn't beat Wuzong when he was healthy, let alone now when he was seriously injured. Therefore, when his fist returned, it was swept away by the opponent's palm. Boom! He fiercely crashed into the stone wall and fell down. He no longer had the strength to support himself to stand up. After receiving so many punches, his injury was too serious. Liao Xiuanfang threw the corpse away and then took out a tissue to wipe his blood-stained hands. He looked around and said lightly, "So there are still people hiding in the dark." As soon as he said that, everyone hurriedly became alert. The other Drizzle Hall members who were hiding in the dark all clenched their fists when they saw their comrade being killed. Their eyes flashed with monstrous anger. As a qualified assassin, when the opponent was very strong, the first thing to do was to retreat. However, they wouldn't retreat, and they couldn't retreat. Because today's identity was no longer an assassin, but a Drizzle Hall member of the Iron Bone clan. Schwa! A member couldn't help but rush out. He didn't attack, but exposed himself and fled in another direction. This was to attract the enemy's attention and fight for a chance for senior brother Xiao to escape. The martial artists from various sects locked onto that member and sent more than 10 people to chase after him. If he continued to hide, it would be difficult for them to do anything to him. However, if he took the initiative to expose himself, he would soon be caught and captured. Plop! That member was thrown in front of Liao Xiuanfang. Liao Xiuanfang stepped on his back with one foot. He looked at Xiao Ziji and said lightly, "This should be your junior brother too, right?" Xiao Ziji turned his face to the side. Seeing his junior brother being stepped on like this, anger filled his face and he looked ferocious. "You guessed right." Liao Xiuanfang got the answer he wanted from his expression. He then gently lifted his foot and said, "He killed so many of my men. Let's use him to pay for his life first." Schwa! 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 At this moment, the other 3 members hiding in the dark couldn't hold it in anymore. Even though they knew that they would be exposed, they still threw out their hidden weapons. Liao Xiuanfang raised his hand and froze all the flying hidden weapons. Then, he put his 5 fingers together and condensed them in an instant. Find all the flies in the dark. Okay. The martial artists from various sects rushed in the direction of the hidden weapons. Bang! Liao Xiuanfang lifted his foot and kicked the captured member in front of Xiao Ziji. Then, he walked over step by step. Like a king looking down at 2 weak ants, he said, "Since we're from the same sect, we'll die together. Then, we won't be lonely on the road." As he spoke, he lifted his foot. Whoosh! His spiritual energy gathered, and his strength gradually increased. He only used about 50,000 kilograms of strength. But with Xiao Ziji's condition and the strength of that member, as long as he was stepped on, he would definitely die. "Let's go." Liao Xiuanfang stepped down. His target was precisely that member of Drizzle Hall. No. Xiao Ziji's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He really wanted to use his body to block the attack for his junior brother, but he was too badly injured to move an inch. Roar! At this moment, a deafening roar of a ferocious beast suddenly came from behind. The heart-wrenching screams of the martial artists from various sects were also heard. Liao Xiuanfang's foot stopped. He didn't look behind him. Instead, he raised his head in surprise, because there was a cold killing intent coming down from above. It was unknown when Jun Changshao had appeared on top of the mountain wall. He held the green dragon crescent blade in one hand. His face was filled with monstrous killing intent as he said in a cold voice, "Move your feet away. This king will give you a decent death." Chapter 250. At the critical moment, Jun Changshao followed the marks he left on the road and rushed to the valley. He could not suppress the anger in his heart. Because when he got close to the dead Drizzle Hall members, he heard the news that the sect had lost members. "How dare you kill my disciple? No matter who you are or what your identity is, you must die." Of course. Death was also particular. Was it a clean death or a painful death? If the middle-aged man below retracted his foot and gave him a clean death, if he insisted on stepping down, then he would die a painful death. Sect. Sect Master, Xiao Ziji called out weakly, his eyes filled with joy. The Sect Master was here. Junior brother was safe. At this time, Xiao Ziji was not concerned about himself, but the Drizzle Hall members. Seeing that his precious disciple had suffered such a serious injury, Jun Changxiao's eyes were filled with killing intent. Even if the guy below was a god or an immortal, he would die. Was he not afraid of offending people? Under normal circumstances, Jun Changxiao would choose to keep a low profile, such as sparing the Ghost Hand sect elder. But at this moment, there was only killing intent in his heart. Dragons had reverse scales, those who touched it would die. Jun Changxiao's reverse scales were his precious disciples. Not to mention killing, even if they hurt a strand of hair, they would have to pay a painful price. Hearing Xiao Ziji's words, Liao Cun Fang said indifferently, "You are the sect master of the 8th-rate Iron Bone sect?" While he was talking, his foot did not move. This made Jun Changxiao's heart set a death sentence, and he would die a painful death. Perhaps because the other party was also a sect master, Liao Cun Fang retracted his foot. But because he was half a beat slower, he could not prevent his painful death. Just nice. Liao Cun Fang said indifferently, "I like your disciple. Let him join my Qishan sect." His words showed that he did not put Jun Changxiao in his eyes at all. Not to mention the Iron Bone sect master, even if Qin Haoren who held 2 positions came, he would still be high and mighty. This was not showing off, nor was it some brainless villain. Instead, it was because he was strong, so he naturally had to act like a strong person. Could it be that he had to bow his head and serve the weak? If I take a fancy to him, he'll become your disciple. Jun Changxiao said indifferently, "You're really arrogant." Liao Cun Fang said, "Give him to me, and the grudge between us will be written off." He really admired Xiao Ziji. If he could pull Xiao Ziji into his sect, he definitely wouldn't be willing to kill him. Unfortunately, it was destined to be one-sided. Even if Jun Changxiao really gave Xiao Ziji to him, he would never tolerate the death of his disciple. Therefore, he raised his saber and said coldly, "Write off our grudges. Seduce my ass." Liao Cun Fang frowned slightly and said, "Your Excellency is the sect leader, but your mouth is full of vulgar words. You have no manners at all. You killed my men and you still want to talk to me about manners? Ha ha ha." Jun Changxiao laughed. Suddenly, his gaze became as cold and sharp as a saber. Then, he leaped and swung his saber down. Who? The strength of this slash was at least 300,000 kilograms or more. It was obvious that he had already crushed the strength increase talisman. Liao Cun Fang, who was originally indifferent, suddenly became serious when he felt the powerful saber wind. He stretched out one of his palms and shouted, "Firmament palm." Hoo. Spiritual energy burst out from his palm, forming a cloud-like airwave and quickly condensing into a palm print to meet it. Jun Changxiao's straight slash was very powerful, so he didn't dare to be careless and directly used the high-grade high-rank palm technique that he had comprehended for many years. Hoo. The green dragon crescent blade formed a green saber light, and its strength was still rising steadily, finally soaring to 400,000 kilograms. What did it mean? Only Wuzong with good spiritual root aptitude could have such strength. And it had to be at least 5th grade. Liao Cun Fang had a high-grade spiritual root, which belonged to the upper middle Wuzong. Although it was only 2nd grade, with the support of the firmament palm, his strength could reach about 230,000 kilograms. This was undoubtedly very excellent. Unfortunately, in front of Jun Changxiao's saber. Completely. Not enough. Break for me. Jun Changxiao shouted coldly. The green saber light pressed down fiercely, directly cutting the illusory palm print, and the remaining power didn't decrease. How is it possible? Liao Cunfang's face changed, but there was no time for him to be shocked, and he hurriedly used his body movement to dodge. Boom! As soon as he moved, the powerful saber chi had already cut the ground, instantly showing a saber mark about 1 meter long. Crack, crack, crack. The ground at the end of the saber mark quickly cracked and spread forward, and finally broke into 5 or 6 meters. The 400,000 kilogram saber seemed to be cutting the ground in this area. Although Liao Cunfang barely dodged, when he saw the saber mark on the ground, his back was suddenly covered in cold sweat. He didn't doubt that if the saber had cut him just now, he would have been cut in half on the spot. This Iron Bones sect leader looked like a 6th grade or 7th grade martial master. How could he burst out such a terrifying strength? Could it be that he was hiding his cultivation? I'll go alone. Jun Changshao, who had just landed, rushed over with his saber. The green dragon crescent moon saber suddenly swept over halfway, and a green flowing light burst out. It was also 400,000 kilograms of strength. Liao Cunfang still had lingering fear, and he didn't dare to fight head-on, so he hurriedly used his body movement to dodge. Although he could barely dodge, when the saber light swept past him, he was still covered in cold sweat. In front of absolute strength, Xiao Ziji could only be severely injured and fall to the ground. Now, facing the Iron Bones sect leader who was stronger than him, he also seemed to be much weaker. High and mighty. He had already flown away without a trace. Swoosh! Jun Changshao dragged his saber over. This time, he used Ghost Leap and increased his speed to the extreme. While Liao Cunfang just stabilized his body, he shouted, "Water drowns the 7 armies." Whoosh! The green saber light swept over. Not good. Liao Cunfang's expression changed. He wanted to dodge, but just as he leaned sideways, the saber light was close to the tip of his nose and fiercely cut his right arm. Puchi! Where the saber light passed, his arm flew out. Because the speed of the saber was too fast and the strength was too strong, the split wound didn't immediately spurt out blood. Swoosh! Jun Changshao appeared behind Liao Cunfang like a ghost. Puchi! The saber light flashed again, and another arm flew out. At this time, the wound on Liao Cunfang's right arm began to spurt blood, and an intense pain rushed to his sea of consciousness, causing his expression to become ferocious. Xiao Ziji watched from his angle, and his eyes were wide open. A Wuzong had his arms chopped off by the sect leader in just a few moves. This was too shocking. But it wasn't over yet. Warm wine slaying Hua Xiong. Jun Changshao held the green dragon crescent moon blade and fiercely swept across from his lower body. Whoosh! The green saber light directly slashed across Liao Cunfang's knees, and suddenly a thin crack appeared. Ah! A heart-wrenching scream resounded in the valley, causing the wild beasts in the mountains to flee, and their eyes were filled with intense fear. What kind of pain did a human have to go through to let out such a miserable cry? Plop! Liao Cunfang's legs were broken from the knees, and he fell straight to the ground with a ferocious expression. The piercing pain fiercely attacked his sea of consciousness and scalp. Swoosh! 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 The green saber light flashed, and it was close to the skin and flesh. Chopping off the arms and legs, and then cutting off the flesh piece by piece, this was the way the patriarch of the 6th-rate Qishan sect died. P.S. I've been busy recently, so I've been updating twice for the past 2 days. Today, I'll update 4 times, and I'll continue tomorrow. Oh right, I'll update in the morning. I can't take it anymore, so I have to sleep. I really don't have the energy to write, so I'll update as I write tomorrow. Chapter 251. The high and mighty patriarch of Qishan sect, Liao Cunfang, was dead. His limbs were chopped off and his flesh was sliced off. The process of his death was slow and painful. Was it cruel? Cruel. But this was the price one had to pay for killing a disciple of Iron Bone. Jun Changshao sheathed his saber. The killing intent in his eyes gradually dissipated. He walked up to Xiao Ziji and fed them a healing pill. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, the two of them jumped up energetically. When they saw Liao Ciyuan Fang's limbs chopped off and he died of 1,000 cuts, the shock in their hearts could not subside. A second-class Wuzong, a leader of a sixth-class sect, was killed so easily. It was too terrifying. At that moment, Xiao Ziji finally realized that although the sect leader rarely fought, his strength was really strong. Liao Ciyuan Fang was not the only one who died. The martial artists from various sects who went after the Drizzle Hall members also died tragically in the hands of Li Qingyang and Su Xiaomo. Many of them were second-class and third-class martial artists, but they could not escape death in front of a group of monstrous disciples. As usual, they looted the crates. After that, they piled the corpses together and burned them with fire. The martial artists from various sects were not rich. Liao Ciyuan Fang was the rich one. There were many martial arts techniques and spirit stones in his spatial ring. There were also 2 to 3 million taels of silver. There were also crystal cores. There were hundreds of middle-class and more than 10 high-class crystal cores. Jun Changshao took them and thought to himself, if I put all of them into the incubator, I should be able to increase 1 or 2 contribution points. After everything was done, he burned Liao Ciyuan Fang's corpse and brought the disciples back to Iron Bone. The dead Drizzle Hall members were carried by Xiao Ziji. His eyes were filled with grief and self-blame. If he was not too careless and was trapped in the valley by various martial artists from Heian County, junior brother would not have died because of him. After returning to the Iron Bone sect, Jun Changshao chose a suitable burial ground at the back of the mountain, and then dug a grave. On the day of the burial, the sky was dark and drizzling. All the disciples of Iron Bone stood beside the grave to send off their fallen comrade. I'm sorry, standing in front of the tombstone, Xiao Ziji lowered his head. The self-blame on his face deepened. I've implicated junior brother. Jun Changshao patted his shoulder and said, Qinli died because of you, so you should live well and continue to grow stronger to repay him. After saying that, he turned around and left. There was no point in saying too many words of comfort. Only when the person involved had truly thought it through would it work. What's more, Jun Changshao didn't feel good about the death of a disciple. Who could comfort him? Xiao Ziji couldn't figure it out and stood in front of the tombstone. A day and a night later, he clenched his fists and murmured, Junior brother, I will live on and work hard to become stronger. I will use my life to protect the Iron Bone and my fellow disciples. He had thought it through. He had figured it out, but Jun Changshao had not. Sitting alone in the study, he still blamed himself. If he had not sent his disciples to participate in the grand competition, none of his disciples would have lost their lives. The death of a disciple had happened on Black Wind Mountain before. But that disciple was greedy for life and afraid of death. In order to survive, he didn't hesitate to betray the sect and join Zhou Tianba. So, his death didn't matter. Jun Changshao didn't feel any psychological burden at all. However, Qinli died to save his fellow disciples. He was the first disciple of the sect to die in the true sense. This made him very sad. What are you thinking about? You don't even host the morning exercises. Li Luoqiu leaned against the door of the study with a charming smile on her lips. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, Your Drizzle Hall lost a member. Don't you feel sad? Li Luoqiu walked over and sat in front of him. She clasped her hands together and asked in a questioning tone, The dead can't be brought back to life. Is there any use in feeling sad? Jun Changshao was startled. Yes, the person was already dead. Was there any use in feeling sad? Li Luoqiu continued, Since we live in this cruel world, what we need to do is not to remember our old friends. Instead, we need to constantly become stronger to comfort their souls in heaven. These words were similar to what she said to Xiao Ziji yesterday. Jun Changshao hoped that his disciple could think it through, but he still couldn't. Them? Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "These two words are inauspicious." Li Luoqiu said solemnly, "Our iron bone wants to become stronger in this cruel world. There will be more conflicts, hatred, and even death." Jun Changshao knew that this woman was telling him that Qin Li's death was only the beginning. If they wanted to continue walking in this cruel world, there would be more disciples who would die. He didn't want the disciples he cultivated to die. But since they entered the Jianghu, their life and death were no longer in their own hands. Jun Changshao leaned on the back of the chair and said, "I will do my best to improve the strength of my disciples. I will let them become stronger and not walk towards death." Li Luoqiu stood up and said, "I will also go and train the members. I will let them have enough strength to face all dangers." Jun Changshao temporarily dispelled the idea of letting his disciples continue to participate in the inter-sect tournament. Instead, he focused on cultivating in the sect. A few days later. On the third month since the various tests were established, the inter-sect tournament was held. Because there were early and late disciples, and there were high and low realms, the inter-sect tournament was divided into different levels. Many disciples rushed to sign up. After a day of intense competition, the 3 different levels of the inter-sect tournament ended. The disciple who won first place received a generous reward of resources. Although the level of the inter-sect tournament wasn't high, the rewards would motivate the disciples to become stronger. Of course. The inter-sect tournament and the inter-sect tournament were only appetizers. The most important thing was the inter-sect tournament every year. After all, the champion could become an inner-sect disciple. Iron Bone currently only had 7 inner-sect disciples. Many powerful outer-sect disciples naturally hoped to occupy an inner-sect seat through the inter-sect tournament. As of now, Long Xiang and Yang Yuhua had the highest possibility of becoming an inner-sect disciple. Next were Zhang Wei and the other 10 who used the aptitude-changing elixir. In the 6th and 7th rate sects, as long as one had a high-grade spiritual root, not only would they be promoted to an inner-sect disciple, they could even become a direct disciple. In Iron Bone, they had to participate in the inter-sect tournament to prove themselves. This was a bit awesome. There was no other way. Who asked there to be so many disciples with supreme-grade spiritual roots? As a matter of fact, when Li Fei drank the supreme-grade aptitude-changing elixir, his spiritual root was upgraded to the supreme grade. His realm went from the 8th grade to the 9th grade martial disciple. In this way, among the Iron Bone inner-sect disciples, only Tian Qi had a high-grade spiritual root for the time being. The rest were all supreme-grade spiritual roots. An 8th-rate sect, excluding Jun Changshao and Lu Qianqian, had a total of 5 disciples with supreme-grade spiritual roots and more than 10 disciples with high-grade spiritual roots. This was a very scary thing. If this spread out, it would definitely cause a sensation in the entire Falling Star continent. "Thank you for the elixir, sect leader." After his aptitude and realm had been upgraded, Li Fei said excitedly. "You can go now." Jun Changshao waved his hand. After the disciple left, he went to the study and poured the crystal cores he got from Liao Zuanfang into the incubator one by one. With so many middle and high-grade crystal cores, the mutation rate only increased from 85 to 87. Sure enough, one had to be super invincible to be able to afford this. Time passed, and soon more than 10 days had passed. Jun Changshao cultivated and taught the disciples at the same time. He also came to check on the incubator every day. Ding! One day, the incubation time shown on the screen changed to 1,515 days. Whoosh! The energy of the sea-wave crystal cores in the incubator was stirred up crazily. Then, it gradually faded from rich to faint, as if it was being absorbed by the dragon egg. Crack! A cracking sound was heard. The dragon egg that was standing in the incubator cracked open and quickly spread to the surroundings, forming pieces. Whoosh! A red light shot out from the crack, and then a piece of eggshell fell off. The cub was coming out. Jun Changshao looked at it intently and secretly prayed, "It must mutate, it must mutate." Chapter 252. For this dragon egg, Jun Changshao had spent a lot of money, so when he saw the eggshell fall off, he was excited and nervous. He was excited because the incubation process required a high-grade crystal nucleus, which meant that the breed must be very strong. He was nervous because with an 87% mutation rate, would it fail? It wouldn't be so bad. It would definitely mutate and hatch into a powerful Kuan or a cub stronger than the Kuan. Sect leader Jun began to fantasize, and the more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Ka! Another piece of eggshell fell off, and a fiery red light shot out from inside, like a scorching flame. The system said, "There is a fire attribute, it should be a fire dragon without a doubt." Jun Changshao didn't care about the breed, he cared about whether it could mutate or not. Ka ka ka, the eggshell fell off faster and faster, and more fiery red light shot out from inside, gradually forming a flame. Jun Changshao reached out and touched the incubator, and suddenly felt a little hot. Tsk tsk. It must be very hot inside. The eggshell fell off bit by bit, and the fiery red light expanded. At first glance, it looked like a cluster of burning flames. Finally, all the eggshells fell off, and a ball of fire appeared inside the incubator. Jun Changshao held his breath. He was still praying in his heart that it must mutate. Otherwise, his previous investment would be in vain. Not long after, the fiery red light began to fade. The inside of the incubator returned to normal, leaving only broken eggshells on the ground. Jun Changshao was stunned. Because he didn't see anything. Where was the cub? Where was the Kuan? The system was also puzzled. Why is there nothing? If it was standing in front of him alone, Jun Changshao would definitely grab its neck and shake it crazily, roaring, "I should be the one asking you that." Wait! Jun Changshao, who was about to lose his mind, found that the broken eggshell moved slightly, and a little guy came out. This thing was slender, like a small snake, but it had 4 legs and fiery red skin. There were small horns protruding from its small head, which didn't seem to have completely grown. There were 2 catfish-like whiskers beside its small nose. This was a fiery red lizard. If Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji were present, they would definitely think so. But Jun Changshao was overjoyed, because from the shape and physical characteristics, it was clearly a dragon. This dragon was not a fire dragon beast, but a true dragon. The system poured cold water on him, although it looks like a dragon, it's not obvious enough. It's hard to tell if it's a dragon or not. Jun Changshao pointed at the little fellow and said firmly, "It has dragon horns and whiskers on its head. Its neck is like a snake and its claws are like an eagle's. It is obviously the totem dragon of our Huaxia tribe." "Where's the dragon scale?" the system asked. Jun Changshao fell silent. The little fellow's entire body was smooth and smooth. It did not have the most obvious characteristic of a dragon scales. The system said, "There are many dragon-like beasts in this world, but they might not necessarily be real dragons. What's more, this is a fire dragon egg. Maybe the baby looks like a dragon, and when it grows up, it will be a fire dragon." Jun Changshao, although he also hoped that the little fellow was a real dragon, the system's words were not without reason. Maybe when it grew up, it would become a dinosaur. Squeak squeak. The little fellow in the incubator circled around a few times. Its little rabbit-like eyes looked at Jun Changshao and made a strange sound. The system said, "When the baby hatches, it will be your contracted beast." Jun Changshao opened the door and put his finger on it. The little fellow rushed up with a whoosh and stopped in front of his shoulder. It rubbed its little nose against its master's face. It looked like a lizard, but because it had the characteristics of a dragon, it looked quite cute overall. Jun Changshao gently touched its slightly hot body and said, "From today onwards, you are my contracted beast." Squeak squeak. The little fellow seemed to be able to understand its master's words and hurriedly responded with a weak voice. I have to give it a name. Jun Changshao rested his chin on his hand. After careful consideration, he said seriously, I hope you can become a dragon that can truly soar through the blue dome of heaven. Therefore, your name will be Fire Dragon, and your little name will be Little Dragon. The system, Fire Dragon Beast, was named Fire Dragon. Wasn't it just removing one word? This was really casual and not technical at all. Squeak squeak. The little fellow seemed to be very satisfied with the name, Fire Dragon. It happily ran back and forth on its master's shoulders. However, very soon, a gulu sound came from the sea serpent's stomach. It was obviously hungry. Jun Changshao shook his head and asked with a smile, meat or milk? Squeak squeak. The fire dragon squeaked. Although he was not sure which it would choose, Jun Changshao felt that it said it wanted to eat meat. The two of them had signed a contract, so naturally, they had a tacit understanding. Okay. Jun Changshao said, I'll take you to eat meat. On the way to the cafeteria, he was puzzled. Did this little fellow mutate? The system said, it's too small. I can't tell if it has mutated. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. He spent so much money to hatch a baby fire dragon. He did not know if it had mutated. No matter how he looked at it, it was a bit of a loss. Senior brother, look. On the training field, a disciple who was cultivating saw the fire dragon with his sharp eyes and exclaimed, there's a little fellow on the sect leader's shoulder. Eh? What's that? Everyone looked over with surprise in their eyes. Su Xiaoma held his chin. After a very logical thought, he said seriously, this should be a small lizard. I've seen lizards before, but I've never seen a red one. I heard that there's a fire-type beast that looks like a lizard. It's called the fire lizard. In that case, the sect leader not only has a small wild boar, a lightning-type violet lightning tiger cub, but also a fire-type lizard. Everyone was immediately impressed. 3 contract beasts. This was really enviable. Squeak squeak. Hearing the disciples' discussion, the little dragon squeaked in dissatisfaction. It seemed to be very resistant to the word lizard. Jun Changshao said, these disciples of mine have not seen the world. They don't know that you're a fire dragon, so don't bother. Squeak squeak. The little dragon squeaked even louder. Jun Changshao thought that it was still angry at the disciples for describing it as a lizard. Aya. Walking into the cafeteria, Lu Wanshi saw the palm-sized little dragon. She hurriedly put down her spoon and ran out. She stared with her big eyes and said, Sect leader, what is this? It's so cute. Shwa. The little fellow who was originally a little unhappy suddenly raised its head. Its small eyes were filled with pride. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched. It got angry when he said it was a lizard. When he said it was cute, it became majestic. This little fellow actually liked to hear good words. Its name is Fire Dragon. Its nickname is Little Dragon. Jun Changshao said. Sect leader, can I hug it? Lu Wanshi said. Her small hand had already reached out and held the little fellow in her palm. She touched its smooth skin and smiled, Little Dragon's skin is so smooth. Being touched by the soft little hand, Fire Dragon looked like it was enjoying it. Jun Changshao was stunned. The little fellow's body was very hot. Wasn't Lu Wanshi afraid that it would burn her hands? Su Xiaoma walked in from outside and carefully observed Little Dragon. He grinned and said, Dudu, let senior brother hug you too. Here. Lu Wanshi handed it over. Su Xiaoma carefully took the fire dragon from him. However, just as he held it in his palm, the little fellow's eyes flashed coldly. Its body suddenly erupted with a powerful flame. Plop! The scorching flame swept past. Su Xiaoma fell to the ground with his face charred black. He also fainted while foaming at the mouth. Jun Changshao, Lu Wanshi. Chapter 253. Jun Changshao was very surprised that Lu Wanshi was holding the little dragon in her hand. He didn't mind the heat because he had signed a contract with the little fellow. Why was she fine? Later, Su Xiaoma took it and directly spewed out flames, which made sect leader Jun realize that the little fellow was not repulsed by women but men. Alas! My contracted dragon is a little naughty. Toot, toot. Jun Changshao said, the little dragon is hungry. Make something delicious for it and bring more meat. Okay. Lu Wanshi hurriedly put on an apron and began to cook. As for Su Xiaoma, who had fainted from the fever, he was carried to the medicine hall by the disciples and treated by Sun Bukong. This incident tells us that even small beasts that seem harmless to humans and animals are extremely dangerous and should not be casually touched. It took time to cook. Jun Changshao put the little dragon on the table, held his chin, and said, "It's just born, but its flame is so strong. It's really surprising." Squeak, squeak. The little dragon opened its mouth and made a sound. It seemed to be telling its master that it was very strong. Jun Changshao rubbed its head with his finger and said with a smile, "I hope you can grow up quickly. I'll count on you to guard the house in the future." The baby purple lightning had a cool appearance and was suitable for the current generation's mount. If this little fellow grew up into a complete fire dragon, it would be the most powerful beast in the sect. At that time, the sect protection array wouldn't even be activated. He could just let it squat in front of the mountain gate. As long as it had a normal brain, no one would dare to break in. The food is ready. Lu Wanshi's voice came. Dahe and Ariai came up with several dishes, all of which were meat dishes, which looked, smelled, and tasted good. Squeak, squeak. Smelling the smell, the little dragon's two small eyes suddenly flickered with excitement and almost drooled. Let's eat. When the food was on the table, Jun Changshao said. Swish. 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 The little dragon didn't stand on ceremony. It hurried to a dish, opened its small mouth, and began to eat. After a while, the dishes on the plate were all eaten. Jun Changshao and Lu Wanshi widened their eyes. Damn it! A palm-sized little guy actually ate 8 dishes. His appetite was too big. Squeak squeak. Little Long Long circled around the empty plate, as if it wasn't full yet. The corner of Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. Dudu, go make another table of dishes. All right. Lu Wanshi returned to the kitchen again. Not long after, little Long Long was finally full and lay down on the table with a bulging belly. The expression on sect leader Jun's face became interesting because the little fellow had eaten more than 30 dishes, and the plates were stacked high. Sect leader. Lu Wanshi said blankly, little dragon can eat so much. Not only could he could eat too much. There were more than 30 dishes. If it were an iron bone disciple with a decent appetite, it would take at least 10 people to finish it. How could a palm-sized little guy eat it all? How could his stomach hold it all? Jun Changshao suppressed his shock and explained, the little guy was just born. He must be very hungry to eat so much. At night, during dinner, the disciples in the canteen held their chopsticks and looked at the sect leader's table. Their expressions were stiff and their eyes were filled with shock. Burp. After a while, little Long Long was full and burped. He lay down on the table again and squinted his little eyes, looking like he was enjoying himself. The corner of sect leader Jun's mouth twitched violently. Because there were more than 30 empty plates stacked in front of him. It ate so much in the morning and so much in the evening. It was enough to show that the little guy's appetite was astonishing. The next day, little Long Long fully displayed his gluttonous side. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he ate a total of nearly 100 dishes, and all of them were meat dishes. All of them were hard dishes. Don't just eat meat. Drink some soup and eat some steamed buns. On the third day, when breakfast was served, Jun Changshao hurriedly stuffed more than 10 steamed buns into little Longlong's hands. There was enough of them and they were cheap. Eating 2 steamed buns was comparable to eating a plate of hard dishes. If you invited a friend to a banquet, let him eat a few more. It would definitely save money. Unfortunately, little Longlong completely ignored him and picked the meat dishes to eat. Jun Changshao collapsed. If all the disciples in the sect had such an appetite, just the food expenses alone would make his eyelids twitch crazily. Sect leader. One day, Lu Wancher pouted and said, "Little Longlong ate all the meat we stored. Go down the mountain and sell some more." Jun Changshao almost fell to the ground. After returning from Death Valley, he gave a lot of vicious beast meat. Lu Wancher estimated that it could last for half a year. In the end, it was all eaten by little Longlong in just a few days. This was too exaggerated. What was even more unacceptable was, after eating so much food for a few days, his body was still the same size as when he was born. He didn't gain any weight. Sect leader Jun could still accept that he ate a lot and grew fast. Eating a lot and not growing fast, he was fucked. The Iron Bone disciples were still cultivating as usual. Li Qingyang and the others also went to the training tower to train every day. They didn't dare to relax at all. Sect Master Jun began to run back and forth from the sect to the town. What was he doing? He was definitely buying meat for little Longlong to eat. As soon as he arrived at the town, all the big butcher shop owners swarmed over. They either promoted their own beef and mutton or the vicious beast meat. The Iron Bone sect leader goes down the mountain to buy meat every few days. How much can his disciples eat? He buys 2,000 to 3,000 caddies of meat every time and finishes it in a few days. Just eating for a month would cost tens of thousands of taels, right? To be able to provide such good food, the Iron Bone disciples must be very happy. When Jun Changshao returned to the sect after buying meat countless times, the bored cultivators in the town started to talk about it. If the Iron Bone disciples heard what they said, they would definitely wipe their tears and cry. The meat isn't for us to eat, it's for little Longlong. Moreover, sometimes when they just started eating, the meat on their plates would be taken away by that little guy before they could even raise their chopsticks. Many disciples hadn't eaten meat for 2 or 3 days and had almost forgotten the taste of meat. It was mealtime again. Before the dishes were all ready, Su Xiaoma sneaked into the kitchen. He put a big bowl on the table and whispered, "Do, give me a few pieces of meat first. I'll eat at the back of the mountain." Just as he finished speaking, Li Fei and Tian Qi also sneaked in. The two of them smelled the fragrance of the meat that they hadn't eaten for 2 days and immediately started drooling. "Give me some too," the two of them said at the same time. Just like that, because of little Longlong's existence, it became difficult for the Iron Bone disciples to eat meat, and they became very careful. But it was useless. The little guy was very sensitive to Lu Wancher's cooking. As a matter of fact, Su Xiaoma and the other two carefully carried the food to the back of the mountain. Just as they placed it on a rock and hadn't picked up their chopsticks, little Longlong rushed over with a whoosh. Ah! I can't take it anymore. Clang clang clang. In order to protect the meat in their bowls, Su Xiaoma and the other two took out their cold-edged swords and poured their spiritual energy into them. Their eyes flashed fiercely. Seeing this, little Longlong shook its body and suddenly spat out flames that were 2 to 3 meters high. In an instant, the surrounding temperature rose sharply. "Senior brother, this vegetable tastes really good. Try it. This bean sprouts is also not bad. Dudu's vegetarian dishes are no worse than the meat dishes. Just eat vegetarian dishes in the future. Why eat meat?" Su Xiaoma and the other two sat on the grass in the distance. They held the rice and happily picked up the vegetarian dishes on the plate. They ate with great relish. Whoosh! Little Long Long retracted its flames and opened its mouth to eat all the meat in the bowl. It even licked the oil off the bowl clean. After watching the little guy walk away, Su Xiaoma and the other two used their chopsticks to eat the rice and shed tears of grievance. Chapter 254. The fire dragon really could eat. It ate a few hundred kilograms of meat a day like it was playing, and the more it ate, the more it ate. It ate until the iron bone disciples had no meat to eat. It wasn't that Jun Changshao couldn't afford meat, but that the way it ate, the meat in the town couldn't supply it. Could it be that he had to go to the city to buy meat? Jun Changshao didn't waste time going to the town every few days while cultivating, but it was a bit far to go back and forth to the city. Send disciples to buy it? It wasn't that it was impossible, but according to the way the little dragon ate, how many space rings would he have to bring? Iron Bone Mountain is so big, there are many birds and beasts, we can let it hunt to fill its stomach. Jun Changshao muttered. It would definitely be very expensive to raise this kind of big eater, so he could only throw it into the forest and let it roam freely. The system said, the fire dragon cub was just born not long ago, its strength is not strong enough. If it encounters a high-level beast, I'm afraid it will be dead. Jun Changxiao's mouth twitched, the flames that erupted as soon as it was born can burn little Mo unconscious, isn't that strong enough? The system said, Disciple knew that it was the host's contract beast. Firstly, I didn't guard against it, and secondly, I didn't want to hurt it. Otherwise, I could have easily taken it down. These words hit the nail on the head. Su Xiaoma and Tian Qi's strength was comparable to a martial master, so they could easily trample on the fire dragon. However, since it was the sect leader's contract beast, they would rather eat vegetables than lose face. As the saying goes, before you hit a dog, you have to look at its owner. Jun Changshao said, You mean, let the little dragon continue to eat in the sect? The system said, it can eat for a period of time, and when its strength increases and it has the power to protect itself, it can be thrown into the mountains to hunt on its own. Jun Changshao was silent for a moment, and said, That's fine too. Leaving the little guy alone in the mountains, even if it was Iron Bone Mountain, he was still a little worried. At most, he could bring more space rings and buy tens of thousands of kilograms of beast meat. No more. Let's go to Death Valley and kill some big beasts. Sect leader. At this moment, Su Xiaoma rushed in from the outside, his face was either excited or sad, and said, The little dragon was frozen by senior sister. What? Jun Changshao hurried out of the hall. On the martial arts practice field, Lu Qianqian's face was cold. The cold air in her hands had not been completely withdrawn, and the surrounding air was extremely cold. Although many disciples were standing outside, because of the low temperature, they hugged their hands and shivered. There was also a small ice sculpture on the training field, and the little dragon was sealed within it, running on all fours. What's going on? Jun Changshao asked. Su Xiaoma said, Big senior sister went to the cafeteria to eat. Little Long Long ate the meat in her dish, and then this happened. Jun Changshao said in a speechless manner, You're courting death. That little guy really had guts. He actually dared to snatch the iceberg woman's meat. He deserved to be frozen. Ka ka ka. A moment later, the seal was removed, and the ice layer fell off piece by piece. The little fellow fell to the ground, and its entire body began to twitch from the cold. Achoo! The next day, the little fellow laid on its master's shoulder, sneezing non-stop. A fire-type beast was frozen like this. It could be seen that our big senior sister's ice attribute was still very strong. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, In the sect, you can provoke anyone, but never that woman. Squeak squeak. Little Long Long roared in dissatisfaction. Ha! My contract beast is still quite, xiao. Suddenly, the little fellow crawled into its clothes in fear. Why? Because Lu Qianqian walked out of the inner court. I thought you were very manly, but in the end, you became a coward in less than a second. Sect Master. Lu Qianqian said lightly, this contract beast of yours keeps snatching the junior brother's meat. This is not a solution. When the disciples who were cultivating in the martial arts practice field heard their big senior sister's words, sadness instantly surged into their hearts, and they suddenly had the urge to cry. Although Lu Wanchu's culinary skills were very strong, and although eating vegetarian dishes was good for health, she was still a carnivore after all. Not eating meat for a few days really made her feel terrible. I'm also thinking about this problem. Jun Changshao said. Later, order people to go to Qingyang City to buy enough beast meat, so that everyone can eat meat and drink soup. The disciples were overjoyed. Sima Zhongda volunteered and raised his hand, saying, Sect Master, I once sold meat, so I understand the price. I'm willing to go to Qingyang City to buy. Okay. Jun Changshao calculated the storage capacity of a normal spatial ring, then gave Sima Zhongda 20 pills and a large sum of money, and let him go down the mountain to buy. Dusk came. Sima Zhongda returned, and his spatial ring was filled with 20,000 pounds of meat. Even if he ate 500 pounds a day, it was enough to last him for a month. 1 pound of meat is 10 taels, 20,000 pounds is 200,000 taels, that's 2,400,000 taels a year. Jun Changshao was a bit mad. A sect with more than 500 people, eating so much money in a year, what reason did they have to not continue to earn money to support their family? Sect Master. Li Luoqiu walked in from outside, saying, there's news from Huyang City, the AI clan wants to go to the 8th grade Lingyang County to auction pills. Jun Changshao was stunned, saying, why isn't the auction in Qingyang County? Li Luoqiu said, rumor has it that a big clan in Lingyang County is willing to spend a lot of money to invite the AI clan to auction healing pills. Sect Master. Li Qingyang reported, the AI clan's clan master is outside, requesting an audience. Li Luoqiu already knew that AI Shang was coming to the sect, but before she could say anything, he was already here. He was really fast. Please come in. AI Shang entered the main hall, and after a short conversation, he first handed over the recently prepared herbs and high-quality seeds, and then told them about the matter of going to Lingyang County. Clan Master AI. Jun Changshao said, why are you going to Lingyang County? AI Shang smiled, the Qian clan of Lingyang County is willing to pay a high price, hoping that our AI clan can hold a pill auction in their auction house. Qian clan. They must be very rich. AI Shang said with a smile, I have a good relationship with the Qian clan's clan master, so I can only accept the invitation and choose to hold the next auction in Lingyang County. When he received the Qian clan's invitation, he was already tempted. After all, Qingyang County was too small, and if he auctioned in an 8th grade county, he would definitely be able to get a higher price. Businessmen valued profits. If he could sell healing pills and body-shaping pills at a higher price, he would naturally be willing to go to an economically developed area. I see. Jun Changshao thought for a while, then took out 20 healing pills and 10 bottles of body-shaping pills, saying, Lingyang County is quite far, and it won't be easy to go there. Clan Master AI, please sell more. AI Shang was overjoyed. Including the previous ones, he had 70 healing pills and 20 body-shaping pills. He would definitely be able to return from Lingyang County with a bountiful harvest. The two chatted for a while more before Clan Master AI stood up and left. After Jun Changshao sent him off, he murmured, I need money now, so I hope Clan Master AI can bring enough silver for this trip to Lingyang County. Clap. He clapped his hands and said, there's enough meat, I can cultivate in peace now. However, unexpectedly, the little dragon's appetite decreased a lot the next day. It only ate a few kilograms of meat and looked listless. Was it sick from the cold? Another day passed, and the little guy was sleeping in its temporary nest in the study. Jun Changshao was even more worried. The system said, Host, don't worry, this little guy should be hibernating. Hibernating my ass. It's only autumn right now. The system said, some special beasts in the falling star continent will enter deep sleep from time to time. Fire dragon should be one of them. It's not sick. No. That's good. Jun Changshao asked, what's the benefit of deep sleep? The system said, beasts will be able to better understand the nature of heaven and earth in deep sleep, thus increasing their strength. This is called sleep evolution. Hearing that it could increase strength and evolve, Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. Then, as if he understood something, he said, the little dragon didn't grow after eating so much food, is it because it lacks sleep to evolve? The system said, in theory, yes. Jun Changxiao rubbed his hands and said, the so-called sleep evolution, how long does it take? 3 to 5 months if it's fast, 3 to 500 years if it's slow. 3 to 500 years. Jun Changxiao almost fainted. If the little guy was the slowest, by the time it woke up from its deep sleep, he would have either self-destructed, or the Iron Bone sect would have been developed into the strongest sect in the falling star continent. P.S. 4th update, please recommend, please subscribe. Chapter 255. Senior brother, have you eaten meat today? Yes, it's delicious. Little dragon fell into a deep sleep and no longer came to snatch the meat. The atmosphere in Iron Bone immediately became happy, and the disciples were all happy when they met and greeted each other. Of course. Not everyone was happy because of the fire dragon's sleep. For example, Lu Wancher sat at the dining table and said while holding her chin, Sect leader, when will little dragon wake up? Jun Changshao ate a mouthful of food and said, it should take 2 to 3 months. Lu Wancher said, I heard that many special beasts can evolve through sleep, I really hope that little dragon can maintain its original state, otherwise it won't be cute. Jun Changshao almost spat out the food he was eating. I burned so much money to let it grow up quickly so that it can guard the house. You want it to maintain its original state, what are you doing? Speaking of which. This girl actually knew about sleep evolution, how surprising. Oh right, sect leader. Lu Wancher smiled and said, recently, I have been researching dishes that can increase strength value, now that I have succeeded, do you want to try it? Dishes that increase strength value? Jun Changshao was stunned. Lu Wancher said proudly, this is something that I researched myself, after eating it, it can increase strength value for a certain period of time, and there are no side effects. So powerful? Jun Changshao was startled, and said, come, let me try it. Wait a moment, I'll go get it. Lu Wancher entered the kitchen, then walked over with the lunchbox, and said, I just made this morning, it's not cold yet, sect leader, eat it while it's hot. Opening the lunchbox, the food inside was no different from usual. Jun Changshao couldn't help but question in his heart, food can also increase strength value, isn't this Taishian fantasy? The system said, the host is originally living in a fantasy world. That makes sense, I actually have nothing to say. Jun Changshao raised his chopsticks, picked up a piece of meat and placed it in his mouth, slowly chewing it, then he was dumbstruck. Fragrant but not fat, tender but not greasy. Oh my god. It was simply too delicious. Jun Changshao chewed again and again, his mood fluctuating along with the delicious food. At that moment, his soul seemed to have flown out of his body. At times, he seemed to be standing in the sky, at other times, he seemed to be standing on the peak of a mountain, and at other times, he seemed to be swimming freely in the ocean. Wasn't it a little too exaggerated to be able to eat until one's soul was floating? If you think it's too exaggerated, you can try Stephen Chow's movie Culinary God or watch China's Little Master. Jun Changshao lowered his head and began to gobble down the food. Although his actions looked inelegant, he had the highest respect for such delicacies. The only thing he could do was to eat it all. He couldn't afford to waste anything. As the delicious food continued to enter his stomach, a gush of heat energy erupted in his body, and his strength increased accordingly. This. Jun Changshao was shocked. Although the conversion of heat into power was very slow, it was a solid improvement. It's too magical. Taixian is a fantasy. The system couldn't help but exclaim. In the falling star continent, there were pills that could increase one's strength, but to increase it by a bowl of rice was extremely rare. In the end, Jun Changshao finished all the meat dishes in the box, including the soup, and stood up. Kacha! He clenched his fists, full of strength. Lu Wancher blinked her big eyes and said, "Leader, how do you feel?" Jun Changshao said, "Crooked rigged." Although he didn't understand the meaning of that sentence, judging from the leader's expression, he must be very satisfied. Lu Wancher smiled and said, "According to my speculation, this bowl of rice can increase one's strength by about 20%. That's about right." Jun Changshao didn't test it, but he roughly estimated that his strength had increased from 100,000 to 120,000. Eating a bowl of rice could increase his strength by 20,000. If he didn't experience it himself, it would be unbelievable. Beep. Beep. Jun Changshao said, "How long does this effect last?" Lu Wancher held her chin and said, "I've just researched it. It's still in the experimental stage, so I can't confirm the time. So it's a test." Wait a minute. Jun Changshao's expression changed, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "You're treating me as a lab rat?" Hee hee. Lu Wancher smiled mischievously and said, "Leader is strong, so I naturally have to try it. Besides, it's just a meal, there won't be any problems. In this world, if someone could avoid punishment because they made a mistake, then there was only one kind. The lowly's smile." Jun Changshao patted her head and said, "Seeing that the food is good, I won't pursue it." However, just as he finished speaking, the strength that increased suddenly retracted back. His legs went soft, and he laid on the chair uncontrollably. "Leader," Lu Wancher said anxiously, "what happened to you?" Jun Changshao said, I don't have any strength, and I'm dizzy." As he spoke, his eyes rolled back, and white foam came out of his mouth. This scared Lu Wancher, and she hurriedly shouted, "Not good, not good, leader is going to die." Leader Jun, who could still hold on for a while, heard the last sentence of the little girl, and directly laid on the table and fainted. What happened? What happened? Su Xiaoma was the first to rush over. When he saw Leader Jun, who had rolled his eyes and was foaming, he said in shock, "Was he burned by Little Dragon? That's not right. Isn't that little guy hibernating?" Swoosh! At this moment, Li Qingyang rushed over. When he saw that Leader Jun's situation wasn't good, he immediately carried him and ran towards the medicine hall. Outside the medicine hall, all the disciples were waiting anxiously. Lu Wancher sat on the stairs, and her head was buried between her legs. Bean-sized teardrops dripped down one by one, and her eyes were swollen from crying. "Don't cry." Lu Qianqian, who was leaning on the door, said indifferently. "Woo, woo." Lu Wancher lost control of her emotions and cried, "Senior sister, it's all my fault, I let Leader Jun get sick from eating." Lu Qianqian said, "Leader Jun's life is tough, and he can withstand the torment. He should be fine." If Leader Jun, who was in a coma, heard this, he would definitely open his eyes and faint again. Creak. After a while, the medicine hall's door was pushed open, and Elder Wei walked out and said, "Leader Jun is fine, he just got food poisoning." Although he wasn't a doctor, he still had some medical skills after dealing with herbs all day long. Phew! Everyone let out a sigh of relief. Elder Wei said, "He will be fine after resting for 2 to 3 months." Everyone almost fell over. "My Elder Wei, my Hall Master Wei. Resting for 2 to 3 months, and you call it fine?" Little girl Lu. Elder Wei said, "Did you add burdock, clove, and green powder into the food?" Lu Wancher stopped crying and said in surprise, "Elder Wei, how did you know?" Elder Wei shook his head and said, "These 3 herbs can be used as seasoning. It's fine if you put them alone, but when they are added together, they will produce poison. If it's mild, you will feel weak and foaming at the mouth like Leader June, but if it's severe, it will be life-threatening. Ah! Lu Wancher opened her mouth. Elder Wei said, "From tomorrow onwards, I will teach you how to identify herbs and their effects, so you won't get food poisoning if you mix them randomly." That's good. Everyone agreed. Leader June's life is tough, and he can withstand the torment, but we can't. If Junior Marshall's sister Lu used herbs as seasoning and created a fatal poison, then we will really die. If the unconscious Jun Changshao knew what his disciples were thinking, he would definitely take out a knife and cut himself to let them know what it meant to have a weak life and not be able to withstand the torment. Lu Wancher said seriously. Although she was a gold-ranked chef, she wasn't a pharmacist. When developing food that could increase one's strength, they would often consider the effects and neglect the toxicity caused by mixing herbs. Thus, she had to study well. Then, here comes the question. When Leader June was eating, his soul would fly up and down, and then run through the sea. Was the food too delicious, or was it a sign of food poisoning? Chapter 256. Although the food that Lu Wancher researched could increase combat strength, due to the wrong combination of ingredients, it produced poison that poisoned Sect leader June. Of course. Elder Wei said that it would take 2 to 3 months to recover, but that was only for normal people. Jun Changshao, who had gone through all sorts of body tempering, only needed to rest for 2 to 3 days to recover. What did that mean? That's right, his life was tough and he could take it. Sect leader. In the study room, Lu Wancher was like a child who had made a mistake, lowering her head and blaming herself. "Sorry, I was wrong, I am willing to accept the punishment." How could Jun Changshao bear to punish this cute lowly? Furthermore, researching the strength-increasing food had good intentions, but there was a mistake in the process. "Learn from Elder Wei properly, that is your punishment," Jun Changshao said. If it were any of the other disciples, they might have lost their lives. He had to let the little girl properly understand the medicinal herbs. Lu Wancher knew that this was not a punishment, so she told herself that she had to work hard to learn about herbs. Jun Changshao said, "Don't waste the strength-increasing food, continue researching." Although the strength-increasing food could not be compared to the strength-increasing talisman, it did not cost contribution points, which was its biggest advantage. She had to continue researching. Sect leader. Lu Wancher said, "I am afraid that there will be more problems." Jun Changshao rested his arms on the table and rubbed his chin with his fingers. He began to preach, "You can't choose to give up just because of one failure. Only by continuously trying can you truly succeed." "I understand." With the support of the sect leader, Lu Wancher once again built up her confidence. Furthermore, she had a higher chance of creating a safe and harmless strength-increasing food. As Elder Wei's understanding of herbs was too professional, in just one day, she had a complete understanding of many herbs. What are you waiting for? Go and learn. Oh. Lu Wancher hurried to the herb garden to find Yao Lao. Jun Changshao held his chin and muttered, "To be able to combine normal herbs and ingredients to create a strength-increasing food, this little girl is not simple." Where did he come from? Jun Changshao's understanding of Lu Wancher was limited to her being chased by a group of villains in Azure Sun City before he saved her. No. There was also an understanding. Lu Qianqian had once said that the Ouyang family of the Heavenly Mandate Imperial City had done a lot of research on food and could make dishes that could improve martial arts. Could it be that Dudu is a direct descendant of the Ouyang family of the Heavenly Mandate Royal City? Jun Changshao murmured. If that was the case, she would not be called Lu Wancher, but Ouyang XX. AI. Jun Changshao sighed and said, "None of my disciples seem to be simple. As the sect master, they actually don't know anything. For example, Lu Qianqian and Yi Xingqian. In fact, He could have sent people to the heavenly mandate imperial city to investigate, and they would have more or less gained something, but he had never thought of doing so. In Sect Master Jun's view, no matter what stories the disciples had or what secrets they had, since they had entered the Iron Bone clan, they were disciples of the Iron Bone clan. As long as they were loyal to the clan, all he could do was provide a safe haven for them to become stronger without distraction. It was really hard to find such a sect master in the Falling Star continent. But Iron Bone might be a little unsafe. Because Haeong County had completely exploded. The patriarch of the 6th-rate Chishan sect had not returned to the clan for almost half a month after the grand competition of the sects. Many higher-ups of the clan had also disappeared with Patriarch Liao. This was not normal. There must be something fishy about this. I heard that after the grand competition of the sects, many forces could not accept that an 8th-rate disciple from an outer county won the championship, so they sent people to chase after him. Patriarch Liao and the higher-ups of the various clans have not returned yet. Could it be that they have entered Azure Sun County? Impossible. According to the news, the higher-ups of the various clans had already stopped the Iron Bone disciples in Haeong County. Although that Xiao Ziji is not bad, he is still a martial disciple. Facing a Wuzong like Patriarch Liao, he would not be able to fight back. Since that is the case, why hasn't he returned after half a month? Could it be that an accident happened? Don't tell me that the Iron Bone disciples killed Patriarch Liao and the others instead. Chishan Sect's great elder has temporarily taken over the clan's affairs. He has already organized a large group of disciples to go down the mountain to search. The other clans have also used their own power and connections. I believe there will be news soon. A 6th-rate patriarch had not returned and the higher-ups of the various clans were nowhere to be found. This immediately became a hot topic in Haeong County. But no matter how much discussion there was, it was hard to imagine that he had died in the hands of Iron Bone. Although Jun Changshao had destroyed the corpses, there was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. If the cultivators of the various clans continued to investigate, there would be a day when they would be exposed. Naturally, he would have thought of this and made preparations early on. While the various clans of Haeong County were searching in full swing, he ordered the members of the Drizzle Hall to start spreading rumors. What rumors? Half a month ago, a strange phenomenon occurred in a mountain forest in Haeong County. It was suspected that a treasure had appeared. Once this news was spread, it instantly spread like wildfire in Haeong County. It even overshadowed the news of the disappearance of Patriarch Liao and the others. In a world where martial arts were respected, it was normal for strange phenomena, the appearance of a treasure, or the discovery of a cave or tomb left behind by an almighty person. When such things happened, cultivators would rush like ducks to the point that they would not hesitate to lose their lives. If one wanted to become a powerful cultivator, hard work was indispensable. Fortuitous encounters were even more indispensable. Many cultivators with dreams, in order to obtain various fortuitous encounters, stood on cliffs and bravely jumped off, but in the end, they ended up with their bodies crushed. But then again, what was the purpose of Jun Changshao creating this rumor? It must be to let the people of Haeong County think that the disappearance of Patriarch Liao and the others was related to the appearance of a treasure. As expected, as the news spread, the cultivators started to guess that the patriarch of Chishan sect and the higher-ups of the various clans had not returned. Could it be that they had gone to look for the treasure? I heard that the treasure appeared in a valley. The ground cracked, revealing a cave entrance, and then disappeared after a few hours. If that is the case, Patriarch Liao and the others must have found the cave entrance and went in to look for the treasure. That is why they have not returned yet. That is most likely the case. The cultivators of Haeong County were led astray by the rumors spread by Jun Changshao. Some people would ask, what about their intelligence? How could they believe a random rumor as the truth? Sorry. Since Jun Changshao was playing this trick, he would definitely make the rumor seem like the truth. Otherwise, how could he fool people? Moreover, he did not expect to rely on the appearance of the treasure to deceive everyone. He only hoped that the clans of Heian County would investigate him later and buy time for Changxiang. After Qishan's sect and the other clans heard the rumors, although they were skeptical, they still put their attention on the treasure and started to search the mountains and valleys. There was no other way. Without a thorough investigation, who would have thought that an 8th-rate sect would come all the way here, kill Patriarch Liao and the others, and then return so casually? Chapter 257. Heian County was in an uproar because of the appearance of the treasure. It would be difficult for Qishan's sect and the other sects to find iron bone in a short period of time. Whether it was a few months or a few years, it would undoubtedly buy Jun Changshao a lot of time to become stronger. At that time, even if they killed their way over, they would have nothing to fear. In order to survive in this cruel world, one must have strength and tricks. Otherwise, how would one be able to survive? After spreading the rumors, Jun Changshao completed a hidden mission. It was also related to an idiom called rumors and received 100 contribution points. How wonderful! Lingyang County was also bustling with activity. The news that the AI family had set up the auction in Lingyang County spread and caused a huge commotion. The healing pill and shaping pill had become famous after several auctions. When the various sects found out about the auction time, they had already begun to prepare. Especially for the shaping pill. Neither Heian County nor Lingyang County had anything to do with Jun Changshao. He was in charge of the sect and continued to cultivate and nurture disciples. Little Long Long was still asleep and no one knew when it would wake up. Iron Bone disciples hoped that the little guy would sleep a little longer. Otherwise, they would have no meat to eat. After training in the Tower of Experience for 4 hours, Jun Changshao returned to his residence with a sore body and opened the system shop. I have 835 contribution points now. Why don't I refresh the points? As soon as this thought arose, he couldn't suppress his OCD and opened the system store. The old items were replaced by new ones. After looking at the first few rows, sect leader Jun felt a chill in his heart. After looking at the last few rows, he almost jumped up in excitement. High-grade low-tier movement technique cloud treading steps. Middle-grade high-tier mental cultivation technique sound transmission technique. There was also a pill formula middle-grade healing pill. The cloud treading steps was a movement technique created by an unknown expert. When comprehended to the extreme, one could leap dozens of feet. It was an essential skill for high-altitude parkour. The spirit sound technique was also very powerful. After cultivating it, one could establish a connection with the sect's disciples. It wasn't difficult to send a message from 1,000 miles away. The most explosive item was the medium-grade healing pill, which was the upgraded version of the beginner-grade healing pill. It could quickly heal an injured martial master or Wuzong-grade martial artist. When Jun Changshao finished reading the introductions one by one, he patted his face and said, "Am I dreaming?" Under the influence of OCD, 3 items related to martial arts were refreshed at once. This was absolutely like a dream. Hit with all your might. If it hurts, it won't be a dream, the system said. Fuck off. Jun Changshao wouldn't really hit him. Instead, he put his hands on his hips and laughed, "Ha ha ha, I've finally escaped from the European Union. 2 cultivation techniques and 1 pill formula. Any one of them would have been a huge profit. Who would have thought that he would get them all at once?" His luck was really off the charts. The system said, it should be related to increasing your luck by 1 point. Jun Changshao's mouth twitched. 0 points turned into 1 point, and 3 points were spawned at once. No matter how he looked at it, it was impossible. Of course. Sect leader Jun calmed down and looked at the prices one by one. He frowned because the prices were not cheap. Cloud Steps 100 contribution points. Sound Transmission Technique 200 contribution points. Middle Grade Healing Pill 500 contribution points. There were still 825 points left. If he bought them all, then there would only be a pitiful 25 points left. Being trapped in the stone golem's territory, if he had the cloud steps, he would have directly jumped out. The sound transmission technique could allow disciples to communicate with each other, especially in terms of information transmission. He definitely had to buy it. The middle-grade healing pill could save Wu Shi and Wu Zong. Even if the price was 1,000 points, he wouldn't hesitate to buy it. So, take them all. Ding! Host has spent 100 contribution points and obtained Cloud Steps X1. It has been transported into the space ring. Ding! Host has spent 200 contribution points and obtained Sound Transmission Technique X1. Ding! Host has spent 500 contribution points and obtained Middle Grade Healing Pill Formula X1. Ding! Sect contribution points, 251000. After buying all 3 items, the system automatically matched the Cloud Steps and the Sound Transmission Technique to the Sect's Cultivation Technique. The pill formula was also automatically matched to the Alchemy Pavilion. Now that he had 2 cultivation techniques, he definitely had to copy them. Jun Changshao spent 20 points and copied 1,000 books each. In the end, he was only left with 5 contribution points. This was definitely the lowest level left after leveling up to the 2nd level of the sect. I don't feel safe at all. Jun Changshao muttered, then opened the Alchemy Pavilion and clicked on the middle grade healing pill. Whoosh! The refining window popped up. The middle grade healing pill required 8 types of medicinal herbs. Because there were no materials, all of them were displayed as 0. Jun Changshao rubbed his chin, and said, "Looks like I have to make a trip to the AI family's medicinal shop." As he spoke, he took out the Cloud Steps and flipped through it. A high-grade movement technique was definitely stronger than the Ghost Steps. Furthermore, it had inherited the advantage of being easy to learn from the shop's cultivation technique. Jun Changshao only needed to follow the chants and steps for an hour before he had a preliminary understanding. The reason why he could learn so quickly was definitely related to the top-grade spirit root. Many disciples find it difficult to master the Ghost Steps. I can make them all change to the Cloud Steps. Jun Changshao muttered. He took out the sound transmission technique again. This was a mental cultivation technique. To be precise, it was a mental cultivation technique. After cultivating it successfully, one could establish a mental connection with martial artists who cultivated this technique and transmit their voices over a long distance. To put it bluntly, it was equipped with an invisible phone. As long as one was within a certain distance, signal, one could communicate with others instantly. It was a pity that there was no QQ or WeChat function. He could not send text messages, nor could he compete in pictures. It was a pity. Of course. The understanding of the sound transmission technique determined the communication distance. To be able to reach the level of sound transmission technique from 1,000 miles away, one would probably have to cultivate it to the extreme. If the members of the Drizzle Hall learn this cultivation technique, they will definitely feel great. Jun Changshao grinned. 2 cultivation techniques, a pill formula, and a whim refresh. The harvest was quite huge. Let's cultivate the Cloud Steps first. Jun Changshao sat down cross-legged and calmed his excited mood. Then, he began a night of comprehension. The next day, early morning, the disciples walked out of the room and headed to the martial arts practice field in the outer court one after another. However, just as they gathered, someone shouted, "Look, the sect leader is up there." Up there? Everyone looked up and saw the sect leader standing on top of the main hall. The breeze blew, causing the corners of his clothes to sway. Why was the sect leader standing up there early in the morning? Could it be that he was cultivating his mind by looking at the scenery? Shush! At this moment, Jun Changshao tipped his toes and flew more than 10 feet high like a swallow. He then landed on the roof of the side building. This. Everyone was dumbfounded. The main hall and the side building were at least 20 feet apart. Not only did the sect leader jump over, but he also jumped so high that it felt as though he was flying. Shush! 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 Jun Changshao swung his knee and ran along the roof of the side building in large strides. He jumped and leaped, looking very much like parkour. The disciples were more and more shocked as they watched. Although the sect leader's speed was not very fast, his movements were natural and unrestrained. It felt as though he was strolling in the clouds. Ta! Jun Changshao ran one round and landed on the roof of the training room. He exerted a little force with his right leg, and not only did he jump, but he also flew toward the roof of the main hall. SSS. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The distance between the training room and the main hall was at least 50 feet. There was also an entrance to the inner court in between. If the sect leader wanted to jump over, it would be no different from flying over. Shush! Jun Changshao, who was flying, had his hands behind his back. The breeze blew his black hair away, revealing his handsome face. It was a perfect example of what it meant to be coquettish. Sect leader, boom! Aya! He did not fly over and directly hit the pillar of the main hall. Chapter 258. Jun Changshao only cultivated for one night. Although he couldn't jump from the training room to the main hall, it was enough to show that the cloud-traversing steps bought from the store was much stronger than the ghost-traversing steps. Sect leader must be using a movement technique. He's so cool. It feels like he's flying. After the morning exercise, the disciples discussed the scene of their sect leader running on the roof of the outer courtyard. Their eyes were full of admiration and envy. There was no need to be envious. After sect leader Jun's face stopped hurting, he walked out of the main hall and distributed the cloud-traversing steps and the sound transmission technique. The disciples who received the two techniques were all excited. Thank you, sect leader. Everyone cheered in unison. At this point, Iron Bone had an additional movement technique and a spiritual technique. It could be said that it was more comprehensive. As a technique from the store, as long as the disciples learned it, they would naturally be restricted. Whether they betrayed or were expelled, they would be stripped of all memories. It was this restriction that allowed Jun Changshao to copy it without restraint and distribute it to the disciples unconditionally. Yi Xingqian also received a technique. He opened the cloud-traversing steps and saw that it was only a low-level high-grade technique. Disdain appeared between his brows. After a while, he said in surprise, "This movement technique is even stronger than the crossing dragon traversing steps that I cultivated." Whether the technique was good or not, it was terrible to compare. Our Lord Night Monarch came to a conclusion from the incantation and the steps. As for the sound transmission technique, it was even more shocking. After entering the Martial King realm, one would condense spiritual thoughts and be able to transmit sound at the soul level. But to do it in advance in the form of a technique was a little scary. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Night Emperor was once a martial emperor, so after knowing the effect of the sound transmission technique, he was even more shocked than the other disciples. Calm down and cultivate. Because the sect master had issued two cultivation methods, the disciples of the Iron Bone sect temporarily gave up on going to the training tower and focused all their attention on cultivating their martial arts. A few days later, pulling up the camera and looking down, one could see the disciples using the cloud-traversing steps and jumping around on the roof of the outer courtyard. Su Xiaoma and Li Fei, who were extremely talented in movement techniques, jumped from the training room to the main hall after 3 to 5 days of comprehension. Ah! Li Tian also jumped over, but he did not succeed. He screamed miserably as he crashed into the pillar of the main hall and fell down. After making a choice, the members of Drizzle Hall gave up on ghost treading steps and began to cultivate cloud treading steps. Sect leader Li Luoqiu smiled and said, "This movement technique of yours is completely tailor-made for my Drizzle Hall." What about the sound transmission technique? Jun Changshao asked. That's true. Li Luoqiu stood on a rock at the back of the mountain and murmured in his heart. She had already mastered the sound transmission technique. Although she had just started, she was able to communicate with Jun Changshao in the main hall. It was only a few hundred feet away. As one's comprehension deepened, the distance between them would definitely increase. At that time, one would be standing in the sect, while the other would be standing in the Green Sun City, and they would be able to communicate spiritually. Cloud treading steps, sound transmission technique. To the members of Drizzle Hall, these two martial arts were definitely tailor-made for them. In the future, they would be able to move faster, and it would be easier for them to communicate with each other. He had also experienced the effect of the sound transmission technique in his daily life. For example, "Senior brother, let's go to the canteen for a meal." "Wait a minute, I'm changing my clothes." Two disciples, one in the outer yard and the other in the inner yard, were communicating through voice transmission. "Junior brother Yi, do you want to go to the training pagoda together?" Xiao Ziji was also communicating with Yi Xingqian through the sound transmission technique. After a long while, Lord Knight Emperor replied, "Yes." Sect leader, "Senior brother, junior brother, it's time to eat." Lu Wanshi could communicate spiritually with everyone. There was no need for her to stand at the door and shout every day. The sound transmission technique made it more convenient for the Iron Bone disciples to communicate with each other on a daily basis. Get the members of Drizzle Hall to cultivate and strive to be able to communicate with each other via voice transmission in any area of the Green Sun County, Jun Changshao said. The true value of the sound transmission technique could only be perfectly reflected in the transmission of information. Li Luoqiu said, "We should be able to do it in about a month." "Okay." Jun Changshao nodded. He then handed over the sect affairs to her and set off for Huyang City. Shush! 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 Using the cloud treading steps, sect leader Jun dashed through the mountains. Occasionally, he would jump up from a towering tree and slanted to another tree several tens of zhang away. 20 minutes later, Jun Changshao stopped at the entrance of Huyang City. In the past, it would take 30 to 40 minutes to reach Huyang City by relying on the ghost treading steps. One had to know. Relying on the insight talisman, Jun Changshao's understanding of the ghost treading steps was at its peak. He had only cultivated the cloud treading steps for 4 to 5 days. He was still far from reaching its peak. AI Family's medicine shop. AI Shanka hurried over and cupped his hands, saying, "Sect leader Jun has come to visit. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." Since the family head had gone to Lingyang County, he was temporarily in charge of the AI family's affairs. Every time he saw Jun Changshao, AI Shanka would sigh in his heart. This was because before they established a cooperative relationship, they had a conflict. He often pondered. If he had lost to him at that time and was unwilling to accept it, he would have brought his family members to find trouble with him. If that had escalated the conflict, what would the situation be now? Thinking about the ending of the Spirit Spring sect and the crushing defeat of the Vast Chi sect, the conclusion that AI Shanka came to was that the family would either suffer a great loss, or be destroyed. Elder AI. Jun Changshao handed over a list of medicinal ingredients and said, "Do you have the ingredients on this list in stock?" AI Shanka took it, lowered his head and looked at it carefully. He said solemnly, "Sect leader Jun, these 8 medicinal ingredients are all high-grade medicinal ingredients. The price is not cheap. Money is not a problem." Jun Changshao said. AI Shanka said, "Sect leader Jun, please wait a moment. I will let shopkeeper Ma see how many medicinal ingredients we have in the warehouse." 8 medicinal ingredients for 1 set. Understood. Not long after, AI Shanka returned and said, "After counting, our AI family can only gather 20 sets of these 8 medicinal ingredients for the time being." Although 20 sets were few, it was better than nothing. Jun Changshao said, "How much?" 20 sets of medicinal ingredients will cost 200,000 taels. AI Shanka said. Jun Changshao was stunned. So expensive? A set of medicinal ingredients for a low-grade healing pill was only a few hundred taels. A set of medicinal ingredients for a mid-grade healing pill was 10,000 taels. The difference was too big. The system said, how can a medicinal pill for a meridian opening martial disciple be compared to a medicinal pill for a martial master Wuzong? It cannot be compared. Isn't it right that it is so expensive? It made a lot of sense. Jun Changshao said, Elder AI, Jun wants all 20 sets of medicinal ingredients. Let's sign the contract. Okay. They drew up the contract and signed it. Goodbye. After getting what he wanted, Jun Changshao returned to the sect. What made him speechless was that he had been refining mid-grade healing pills since he left Huyang City. It was not until the next day that he finished refining all 20 pills. It took so long to refine from low-grade to mid-grade. Taking out the large healing pill, Jun Changshao muttered, if this thing were to be sold in the market, it would be worth at least 3 to 5 million. Chapter 259. In the Falling Star continent, the chances of high-level cultivators being injured were much higher than low-level cultivators. Why? Because low-level cultivators were cautious and kept a low profile when they went out. High-level cultivators were arrogant and were more likely to cause trouble or take risks. Therefore, the middle-grade healing pills were targeted at martial masters and Wuzong. Although they were not as popular as Meridian Opening and martial disciples, they were definitely easier to sell. If it wasn't for the long journey, sect leader Jun might have given a few pills to the AI family head so that he could auction them off. The cultivation technique was distributed and the pills were refined. Another matter was put on the agenda. That was to recruit disciples. It was strange. Since the last recruitment of 500 disciples, no one had signed up. This made Jun Changshao depressed. I've already stepped on the vast Qi sect. Shouldn't the youths of Azure Sun County flock to me? Why are they so short-sighted? It wasn't that the people of Azure Sun County were short-sighted. After the recruitment of the 100 sects, most of the suitable youths had already joined the sect. The remaining few had very poor aptitudes and didn't even have low-grade spiritual roots. Moreover, sect leader Jun's advertisement was only in Azure Sun City and Huyang City. In the other 6 cities, even if there were parents who wanted to send their children to Iron Bone, they were afraid of the vast Qi sect and the 100 sect alliance. Currently, there were very few youths in Azure Sun County who were suitable to join the sect. Because of the many fears, it would be very difficult to recruit disciples. No. Jun Changshao said, we have to recruit as soon as possible. Even if we don't start the sect's mission, we can at least get a few hundred contribution points. With only 5 contribution points, he didn't dare to open the Spirit Array and the Sect Protection Array because they would be burned out in 2 days. After some planning, sect leader Jun decided that he couldn't wait for others to sign up. He had to take the initiative and go to the various cities to advertise. There were 8 cities in Azure Sun County. The other 6 cities had to be visited one by one, so he would go to Liang City first. I've sinned. Jun Changshao said, you go with me. Yes. Xiao Ziji obeyed. If it had been in the past, he might have felt conflicted about going to Liang City. However, now that his cultivation had risen and the fallen geniuses had regained their former glory, he naturally wouldn't mind. Jun Changshao selected a few more disciples. Most of them were from the outer sect. Their aptitudes were also very ordinary, but their strength was at the level of 3rd to 5th grade martial disciple. He wanted to tell the world that if they joined the Iron Bone sect, even if they didn't have outstanding aptitude, they could still become stronger under the sect's guidance. Liang City. Jun Changshao stood at the city gate for the 2nd time. Behind him were 20 to 30 disciples. Each of them had their heads held high and their chests puffed out, emitting an unyielding aura. It's Iron Bone. Why are they here again? The warriors coming in and out discussed in low voices. Participating in the great intersect tournament, there were many people who mocked and looked down on Iron Bone. However, with the great things that Iron Bone's sect had done recently, it had long turned into reverence. It's not. Walking on the spacious streets of the city, the warriors all made way in advance. Jun Changshao led his disciples straight along the main street and finally stopped in front of the city lord's residence. He cupped his hands and said, Iron Bone Sect's sect leader, Jun Changshao, is here to visit City Lord Ao. When the city lord's residence guard heard this, he hurriedly went in to report. Not long after, City Lord Ao, whose face was full of whiskers, walked out and cupped his hands with a smile. Sect leader Jun, please come in. The warriors on the street were dumbfounded. Although Iron Bone's sect was in the limelight recently, it was still an 8th-rate sect. How could they make City Lord Ao personally come out to welcome them? Jun Changshao cupped his hands and led his disciples into the city lord's residence under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Great Elder. The Shao family's third elder walked into the hall from outside and said rather angrily, Iron Bone's sect leader has brought his disciples to Liang City. The great elder who was drinking tea suddenly had a gloomy expression and said, Is that trash here yet? He's here, the third elder said. Kacha. The great elder crushed the teacup and his eyes were half filled with anger and half filled with killing intent. In the sect competition, Xiao Ziji won the championship and gave the Shao family a tight slap in the face. He couldn't take this lying down and sent assassins to assassinate him outside the city. Although they failed in the end, at least they didn't expose their identities. If the Shao family knew that the family had suffered a great calamity some time ago and that it was all because of sect leader Jun's arrangements, they would know whether their identities were exposed or not. What are they here for? The great elder asked coldly. The third elder said, to visit City Lord Ao. The great elder sneered and said, City Lord Ao has a good relationship with Qin Haoran. Iron Bone's sect has a grudge with him. Isn't visiting them just asking for a snub? The third elder paused and said, City Lord Ao personally went out to welcome that Jun Changshao. What? The great elder's eyes widened. City Lord Ao liked to put on airs. Even when the Shao family head went to visit him personally, he never came out to welcome him. What right did an 8th-rate sect have to make a city lord personally welcome them? Because they were hostile towards Xiao Ziji, even Iron Bone was hostile towards them. They completely ignored the fact that such an 8th-rate sect could defeat the vast Qi sect. Just ask. Could the Shao family do it? They couldn't. In Azure Sun County, other than the 5 Streams Green Mountain sect, no one else could do it. So, what was wrong with a city lord personally coming out to welcome such a sect? Not only did City Lord Ao personally welcome them, he even treated them as guests of honor in the hall. He was also very enthusiastic when talking with them. Jun Changshao himself was a little dumbfounded. Could it be that I'm already at the level where the city lord has to come and curry favor with me? Sending disciples to participate in the sect competitions in Pingyang County, Heang County, and Huayin County and winning all of them. Iron Bone's sect has become stronger under sect leader Jun's management. City Lord Ao smiled. So that was the case. No wonder he was so enthusiastic. He had received the news. Not only City Lord Ao, but the city lords of the other 7 cities also received the news. At first, when they found out that Iron Bone's disciple, Yixingchen, won the championship in Pingyang County, they were just stunned. They only sent one disciple to win the sect competition in an 8th-rate county. This was indeed very surprising. One of the city lords even wondered if all the second-rate disciples in Pingyang County were sent over and not the elite disciples. After that, the news of Li Qingyang winning the martial arts competition in Huayin County spread. All the city lords were in a daze. That was a county with many evil sections. In every martial arts competition, many participants would die. Iron Bone's disciple could win the championship. It's okay, it's okay. they could still control their emotions. In the end, when Xiao Ziji won the championship in Heian County, all the city lords' eyes almost popped out of their sockets. 2 eighth-rate counties sect competitions and a martial arts competition with many evil sections. Iron Bone sent 3 disciples to participate in the competition and won 3 championships. This was absolutely shocking. The competition that Su Xiaoma and Li Fei participated in was rather far away, so the news had not reached them yet. Otherwise, the city lords of Qingyang County would probably have their eyeballs popped out. City Lord Ao. Jun Changshao went back to the topic. Jun is here this time to recruit disciples in your city. Please allow me. Chapter 260. So you want to recruit disciples in my city? City Lord Ao said, of course you can, but I want to make it clear that Liyang City and Alliance Master Qin have a verbal agreement. The youths in the city can only join the sects under the 100 Sect Alliance. Is that so? Jun Changshao raised his eyebrows. Qin Haoran actually dared to monopolize Liyang City. How could the sects that did not join the alliance play? The other cities also had verbal agreements. In short, as long as the youths reached the age of martial arts, they had to join the 100 Sect Alliance. Not joining? Sure, wait for the 100 Sect Alliance to recruit them, they could join other sections. In the end, they still joined the 100 Sect Alliance, just in a different city. This was also why the new sects racked their brains to join the 100 Sect Alliance, because once they joined, they would have the right to recruit disciples. Back then, sect leader Wang had to treat them to a meal to get in and become a member of the alliance. Otherwise, they would not have the right to join the 100 Sect Alliance's recruitment. City Lord Ao. Jun Changshao said, what if I, Iron Bone, insist on recruiting disciples in Liyang City? It's not impossible. City Lord Ao said, but sect leader Jun might be boycotted by the 100 Sect Alliance, they might come looking for trouble. If it was in the past, he would definitely not allow Iron Bone, who did not join the 100 Sect Alliance, to recruit disciples in the city, because it would offend Alliance Master Qin. But now, his mentality had changed. 3 disciples had won 3 championships. As long as one had a normal IQ, they would understand that although Iron Bone was an 8th-rate sect, their strength and potential were huge. Offending a rising sect because of Qin Haoran was definitely not a wise move. Furthermore, it was just a verbal agreement. If the Iron Bone sect's sect leader wanted to recruit disciples in the city, he couldn't just chase them away. Not letting them recruit. Sure, the 100 Sect Alliance can chase them away. City Lord Ao's meaning was, you can settle your own matters, I will turn a blind eye and not offend anyone. Jun Changshao naturally understood his meaning and cupped his hands. Today, I, Iron Bone, will be recruiting disciples in Liyang City. If the 100 Sect Alliance dares to cause trouble, it will be between me and them. City Lord Ao symbolically showed a troubled expression. In the square outside the Great Intersect Tournament, the Iron Bone sect's front was built. The disciples scattered across the streets and handed out recruitment flyers to everyone they saw. Soon, the entire Liyang City knew about it. Join the Iron Bone clan and create a dream together. Gathering the world's talents, recruiting virtuous and capable people, Iron Bone Upright Sect, you are trustworthy. The simple recruitment words written on the flyer deeply stimulated many parents and martial cultivators, and they had the impulse to bring their own children to sign up. City Lord Ao and Alliance Chief Qin have an agreement that all the youths in the city who are of a suitable age to practice martial arts must be given priority to join the 100 Sect Alliance. Isn't Iron Bone trying to pick a fight by openly recruiting disciples here? Speaking of which, it is strange. Why would City Lord Ao agree? In my opinion, this kind of disciple recruitment is a matter between sections. City Lord Ao doesn't want to get involved, so he chose to stay out of it. If the people from the 100 Sect Alliance knew about this, they would definitely not sit still. Many warriors were discussing in the city and began to predict that there would be a good show to watch soon. Sure enough. The Iron Bone sect had just released the recruitment news, and in less than 4 hours, dozens of big and small sects in the area of Liang City had gathered and were rushing over. Jun Changshao, the patriarch of the Tiger's Howl School, coldly shouted, "In Liang City, Iron Bone is not qualified to recruit disciples." Jun Changshao put his feet on the registration table and leaned back in his chair. He crossed his arms and smiled. Why? Because, just as he said these 2 words, the patriarch of the Tiger's Howl School subconsciously took 2 steps back because the Iron Bone disciples behind the patriarch were glaring at him. During the 100 sect recruitment, Jun Changshao put his face between the Long Blade School and the Tiger's Howl School, causing the disciples of the 2 schools to be dissatisfied. They surrounded him and glared at him fiercely. At that time, the Iron Bone was very weak and only had 1 disciple, Lu Qianqian. They were ridiculed and looked down upon by the world, and some even treated as heir. Today, in the Azure Sun County, aside from the Green Mountain School, which force dared to face them alone? No one dared to go alone, so they could only form groups. You Iron Bone are so powerful, but do you dare to oppose the entire Azure Sun County? Jun Changshao, a sect elder, angrily shouted, "Since you left the alliance, you should abide by the rules of the underworld and not recruit disciples in the Azure Sun County." Normally, they wouldn't provoke the Iron Bone, but recruiting disciples in their own territory was something they couldn't tolerate. Why? Because if the Iron Bone were to recruit disciples, where would their own sect and the 100 sect alliance's face be? This was a matter of principle and face. Even if they knew that the other party could wrestle with the Haoqi sect, they still had to unite against the outsiders. Jun Changshao put down his legs and crossed his arms as he smiled. "Whoever is stronger has the right to speak. Isn't this the rule of the underworld?" There was nothing wrong with these words. The Haoqi sect and the 100 sect alliance were strong, so the rules of the underworld were set by them. Since Jun Changshao came to Azure Sun City to recruit disciples, he wanted to break the rules set by them and establish his own. He left the 100 sect alliance because he didn't want to be associated with a bunch of trash and also because he wanted freedom. Going down the mountain to recruit disciples meant that he, the Iron Bone, wanted to compete with the world. Everyone. Jun Changshao glanced at the various sect elders and said indifferently, "I want to recruit disciples in Azure Sun City. If anyone is unhappy, you can declare war. I, the Iron Bone, will not reject anyone." The words "I don't reject anyone who comes to me" fully displayed the arrogance and domineering aura of a sect master. Xiao Ziji and the rest cooperated with the sect leader. They circulated the spiritual energy in their bodies and gathered it around their bodies, instantly creating an extremely powerful aura. In the past, the Iron Bone only had 1 disciple. Now, the Iron Bone had a group of monstrous disciples. They were no longer an unrated sect that anyone could spit on and trample on casually. "You're unhappy? Then come and fight." The surrounding martial artists saw how the Iron Bone was not afraid in the face of so many sect elders and immediately prostrated themselves in admiration. In Azure Sun County, the 100 sect alliance had the absolute right to speak. They never thought that there would be a day when a sect dared to openly challenge them. Was the world going to change? Seeing how arrogant the Iron Bone was, the anger in the eyes of the various sect elders became even more intense. An 8th-rate sect elder who was so angry that his intelligence plummeted said angrily, "I, Chui, would like to experience sect leader Jun's skills." "Sorry." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "You're too weak. I don't want to fight. I've sinned." Waving his hand, he said, "You can exchange a few moves with this sect elder. Don't be too ruthless in case someone dies." "Yes." Xiao Ziji walked out and pointed to the fighting stage at the side, saying, "Elder, please." Chapter 261. Letting his disciple fight with him and telling him not to be too ruthless, this was blatantly looking down on him. Golden Dragon Gate's Gate Master Chui angrily said, "Jun Changshao, you, don't talk nonsense. Jun Changshao interrupted, defeat my disciple and I will immediately return to the Iron Bones sect and never go down the mountain to recruit disciples again. The patriarch of the Tiger's House School came over and whispered, Gate Master Cui, since this guy is so arrogant, why not go up and fight with his disciple for the 100 Sect Alliance? Damn! You're just standing there and talking. I, as a Gate Master, fighting with a disciple of a sect, even if I win, it's not honorable. Gate Master Cui was not afraid of Xiao Ziji, but because of his identity, what was the point of fighting with him? For the 100 Sect Alliance, Gate Master Cui, please go up. That guy is too arrogant, teach his disciple a lesson and vent our anger. With so many people watching, can Gate Master Cui endure? The elders of the various sects tried to persuade him. Humans were afraid of raising their heads. Gate Master Cui could not take it anymore and compromised, fine, this Cui will experience the strength of the champion of the Great Sect competition. The words champion of the Great Sect competition were especially loud. This was to tell the surrounding cultivators that the opponent was not an ordinary disciple and that they should not think that they were bullying the weak. Please. Gate Master Cui and Xiao Ziji stood on the stage. A Gate Master and a disciple with such a huge disparity in status was rarely seen, so everyone started to talk about it. I heard that Gate Master Cui became a third-grade martial master a while ago. Although Xiao Ziji is the champion, he will not be able to contend against him. If Gate Master Jun can fight with Alliance Master Qin, why doesn't he go up himself? If he loses, he will return to the sect and not go down the mountain to recruit disciples. How confident is he in his disciple? Peng! 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 On the stage, the two had already begun to fight. The cultivators who were discussing looked over and their gazes gradually became sluggish, understanding why Gate Master Jun did not go up. It was because a disciple of the sect was competent enough. After the battle started, a pair of fists crazily pounded on Gate Master Cui, forcing him to defend and retreat. Peng! Not long after, the dull sound of a fist could be heard. Sect Master Cui flew out of the room and slammed into the ground, unconscious on the spot. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a cold breath. The elders of the various sects of the 100 Sect Alliance widened their eyes. Sect Master Cui, who was a third-grade martial master, was sent flying and knocked unconscious by that guy. This was too terrifying. Xiao Ziji stood on the stage and shook his head helplessly. His attacks didn't even count as a warm-up, and that guy couldn't take it anymore. Jun Changshao said indifferently, trash. Everyone fell silent. A mere disciple was able to knock out a third-grade martial master. What else could they say? Jun Changshao's gaze swept across the faces of the leaders of the various sections. He said indifferently, the trash I'm talking about includes everyone here. As soon as these words came out, it immediately provoked anger from the crowd. Not convinced? Jun Changshao pointed at the stage and said, you can continue to fight with my disciple on the stage. The same rules apply. If I defeat him, I will return to the mountain and not go down to recruit disciples. Let me. The patriarch of the Tiger's House School stepped forward. Xiao Ziji could see that this guy hated the sect master very much. Therefore, when the battle began, he became serious and immediately sent the patriarch spinning in circles on the stage. Plop! In the end, the patriarch of the Tiger's House School, who had been on the stage for less than 2 minutes, was beaten down by a storm of fists and fainted. From the looks of it, his injuries were more serious than Sect Master Cui's. Continue, continue. Jun Cheng said with a smile, I'll allow you trash to take turns fighting my disciple. These words were truly arrogant. Hearing his words, the leaders of the 100 Sect Alliance no longer cared. They went on stage one by one and were beaten down one by one. 30 minutes later, Xiao Ziji defeated 10 leaders of the various sects, taking an average of 3 minutes to defeat one. The spectating cultivators all stared with their eyes wide open and their mouths agape. The one on stage was not a disciple, but a sect leader. Who among them wasn't high and mighty? Now, they were beaten unconscious by an iron-boned disciple. This was simply unimaginable. What made them collapse even more was, Xiao Ziji, who had gone through 10 battles, stood proudly on the stage with no sweat on his forehead. What did this mean? It meant that he was not tired at all. The martial disciple realm was actually this terrifying. Xiao Ziji's strength had thoroughly shocked the cultivators of Liang City, as well as City Lord Ao, who was watching the battle from afar. At that moment, he finally understood why the other party could win the grand competition of the Heyang County. With this kind of strength that could beat martial masters to the point of being unable to take care of themselves, even if he participated in a higher-level competition, he would still be able to win. The iron bone was not simple, not simple. City Lord Ao was incomparably glad that he did not reject Jun Changxiao's recruitment of disciples in the city. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to standing on the side of the 100 Sect alliance and offending him. He was in charge of Liang City and could be considered a force, but not a sect. Thus, there was no need to offend an iron bone with unlimited potential. Is there anyone else who wants to come up and fight with me? Xiao Ziji stood on the stage with his hands behind his back and said proudly. In the city that he used to live in, he defeated a group of sect elders in front of countless cultivators, allowing him to regain the feeling of limitless glory. This was also why Jun Changxiao brought Xiao Ziji to Liang City and not Li Qingyang or Yi Xingqian. My precious disciple. Liang City is the place that you are most familiar with. You once lost your dignity and honor as a martial cultivator here. Today, you will get it all back. You got it all back. Far more than that. The scene of Xiao Zuiji violently beating up 10 big shots from various sects was extremely shocking. That hot man is back again. The cultivators of Liang City finally accepted the fact and finally understood that the victory of the grand competition was not given up by their fellow sect members. Who was the angriest? Who was the angriest? The Xiao family. The higher-ups of the Xiao family stood far away in the tea house, looking at the trash that had been expelled, looking down at the various sect elders of the alliance with the posture of an expert. Their expressions were as ugly as if they had eaten shit. At this moment, Xiao Ziji turned his head, his gaze passing through the bustling streets and locking onto the great elder who was standing in front of the window on the 3rd floor. This distance was a bit far. But time seemed to have stopped. After a while, Xiao Ziji's lips curled into a smile, as if he was telling the great elder, telling everyone in the Xiao family Xiao Ziji, the disciple of the Iron Bone clan, am back again. Crack. The great elder clenched his fists, his eyes filled with killing intent and anger. He knew that when the news of Xiao Ziji defeating 10 sect elders spread in the city, the Xiao family would once again be subjected to unbridled ridicule. He regretted it so much, so much. The great elder did not regret expelling Xiao Ziji from the Xiao family. He regretted that he should have killed this trash with one palm, instead of using his strength to slap the Xiao family's face again and again in Liang City. Old dog. Following his disciple's gaze, he looked at the Xiao family's higher-ups in the tea house. Jun Changxiao muttered to himself, if you dare to have any bad thoughts about my disciple, even if you are one of the 4 major families in the web novel world, I will still dare to destroy you. Chapter 262. Xiao Ziji had beaten the 10 big shots of the allied sections. Even though the others were furious, they did not dare to fight him. After all, even the 3rd and 5th grade martial masters were knocked out. They would only be tortured if they went up. Jun Changxiao said indifferently, don't say that I, Iron Bone, am bullying you. Come, I'll change to another outer disciple to fight with you trash. Snap. He snapped his fingers. Xiao Ziji walked down and Zhang Wei walked up. He stood on the stage with an overbearing look. After all, his senior brother was so awesome just now. He could not be at a disadvantage. An outer disciple fighting with the big shots of the various sects. How arrogant was that? The big shots of the allied sects who were originally a little afraid of Xiao Ziji became even angrier. "I'll go." A peak martial disciple of a ninth-rate sect leader walked up. After a round of fighting, he was defeated by Zhang Wei, a 6th-grade martial disciple. Oh my god! An outer sanctum disciple can defeat a sect leader. This is too awesome. The martial artists of Liang City widened their eyes again. It was one thing for Xiao Ziji to be strong, but the other disciples were also so awesome. It was unimaginable. Whoosh! An 8th-rate sect leader with a cultivation of a 1st-grade martial master went up the stage. In the end, he was defeated after a few moves. Although Zhang Wei was only a 6th-grade martial disciple, his strength had reached 15,000. The sect leader who had just entered the martial master realm only had 10,000. 5,000 Jin could make up for the gap between realms. With all kinds of tempering and martial techniques, it was easy to defeat him. I said that you're all trash. You still don't want to admit it? Jun Changshao said sharply. The big shots of the various sects were furious, but no one dared to go up the stage because they realized that the Iron Bone disciples were too strong. They would be looking for trouble if they went up. There was no doubt. Today, the Iron Bone sect's performance was absolutely awesome. When the news spread, it would definitely cause a huge sensation in Qingyang County. Sending out an outer sanctum disciple who could casually defeat a martial master level big shot of the alliance, this was simply shocking. Everyone. Jun Changshao said, do you still want to fight? The leaders of the various sects did not say a word. Their expressions were extremely ugly. They had come with such great momentum, but in the end, they were beaten to a pulp by 2 disciples of the Iron Bone sect in front of so many people. It was absolutely humiliating. Jun Changshao said, since you don't want to fight, then get out of here. Don't hinder my Iron Bone from recruiting disciples. Since he had already fallen out with the 100 Sect Alliance, he naturally would not show any mercy. Still not leaving? Seeing that they didn't intend to leave, Jun Changshao said with a cold gaze, are you waiting for me to bring my disciples to challenge your sects? The leader of the alliance hurriedly carried his unconscious comrade and left dejectedly. If he left, it meant that he had admitted defeat. Everyone is here to watch the show. Jun Changshao cupped his hands and said in a clear voice, today, I, Iron Bone, am recruiting disciples in Liang City. As long as you are 14 years old or above, you can sign up. There are not many opportunities, so please don't miss it. The martial artists of Liang City immediately began to discuss in low voices. To be able to train his disciples to such a level, sect leader Jun is truly extraordinary. It's a pity that my child has already joined the 100 sect recruitment, if not I would definitely let him join Iron Bone. My nephew is already 14 years old, he can give it a try. Many martial artists did not dare to let their children join Iron Bone because they were afraid of the 100 Sect Alliance. Today, with just 2 disciples, they were able to beat the leaders of the various sections. This meant that they were really strong and were not afraid. What was there to consider? They had to join Iron Bone sect. In a moment, all the elders with children who were already 14 years old started to move. In just half an hour, there were already over 100 young men and women gathered in the square, their eyes filled with excitement and excitement. Iron Bone sect had become famous recently and they had naturally heard of it. They also wanted to become a member, but they were stopped by their families and could only suppress their thoughts. Name: Shengguan Shuo. Jun Changshao raised his head. Seeing that the other party was young and had a sturdy body, he stamped the sect leader's seal. Ding! Sect member, 5031000. Because of the death of a disciple, the contribution points had reached 503 and did not increase. Name: Yang Kong. A tall young man scratched his head. After confirming his gaze, Jun Changshao stamped the sect leader's seal again. The Liang City cultivators who were watching from afar started to twitch their mouths. Sect leader June only asked for their names and did not ask about their spirit roots and cultivation. Wasn't he too casual in recruiting disciples? The next person to register was a delicate and pretty girl called Yuan Xiaohan. Iron Bone Sect's yang energy was too strong and Jun Changshao naturally wanted to recruit more female disciples to suppress it, so he did not even consider and stamp the sect leader's seal. Next, the young man needed to confirm his gaze to consider whether to accept or not. As long as it was a young girl, he would accept her without hesitation. The Liang city cultivators were a little dizzy. Recruiting disciples so casually was unheard of. That, after accepting 20 to 30 people, an old man in tattered clothes walked over and said, "Sect leader June, I have a child here. She's a little young. Will your sect accept her?" Jun Changshao raised his head and saw a 6 to 7-year-old girl hiding behind the old man. Her big round eyes were filled with fear. "I'm sorry," Jun Changshao said, "she's too young." Although the little girl's face was dirty, she looked very cute. It was a pity that Iron Bone's sect was not a kindergarten and would not accept such a young child. The old man begged, "This child has no parents. She will starve to death sooner or later if she follows me on the streets. Sect leader June, please be kind and accept her into the sect." "Grandpa Lu, I won't leave. I want to follow you," the little girl said in a childish voice. The fear in her eyes was replaced by determination. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Old man, there are many orphans in this world. If I accept every one of them, the sect will not be able to accept them." The little girl pouted and said, "I don't want to join your sect. I want to stay with Grandpa Lu." As she spoke, she pulled the old man back. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Next. Meng Yushuan." Slap. The sect seal was stamped. An hour later, a total of 100 young men and women became Iron Bone disciples. The number of people in the sect increased from 502 to 602. The contribution points also increased from a miserable 5 to 104 points. This way, sect leader June felt very safe. There were more young girls than young men among the disciples recruited in Liang City this time. After returning to the sect, they could suppress their masculine aura. "Let's go," sect leader June said, back to the sect. He first went to the City Lord Manor to bid farewell to City Lord Ao. Then, he led the group of disciples back to the sect. As soon as he walked out of the city gate, he saw the hunchbacked old man in tattered clothes leading the little girl out step by step. The back view of the old man and the young girl looked rather pitiful. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "There are many pitiful people in this world. If I were to help all of them, why would I develop the sect? I might as well set up a welfare institute. Let's go." He led the disciples away. Looking at the people of Iron Bone walking past him, the old man sighed and said, "Meng Ying, are you really going to wander the world with Grandpa?" The girl called Meng Ying said seriously, "Grandpa Lu is Er's closest relative in this world. Wherever you go, Er will follow." "That's good." The old man said kindly, "Let's go to Sun City." "Okay." The old man and the young girl walked along the official road. Their shadows stretched out endlessly under the dusk. Chapter 263. After returning to the sect, Li Qingyang began to arrange accommodations for his new junior brothers and sisters. He also distributed school uniforms and sect rules booklets. He also gave them all kinds of pills. Sitting on the sect master's throne, Jun Changshao murmured, "When they reach stage 12, they can be certified as a 7th-rate sect." Jun Changshao murmured. The requirements for a 7th-rate sect were to be a martial master, 50 martial disciples, and 500 disciples at stage 12. Jun Changshao was now a 6th-grade martial master, so he met the requirements. As for the 50 martial disciples, not counting the new disciples, the 501 disciples in the Iron Bone sect were all martial disciples. The reason why they couldn't advance was that they still needed 500 disciples at stage 12. That would be 50 plus 500, so they didn't have enough people. Now that the number of disciples had increased from 502 to 602, they only needed to cultivate them and open 12 meridians to be certified. Sect Master Jun wouldn't be satisfied with 600 disciples, so after arranging for the new disciples, he decided to go to the nearest Sun city to continue recruiting. Sect Master Li Qingyang said, I have a friend in Sun city. I want to go and see him. Okay. Jun Changshao let Xiao Ziji cultivate in the sect and left with the second disciple and Zhang Wei the next day. Sun City was one of the 8 cities in Azure Sun County. Previously, when the AI clan auctioned the healing pill, the Song's second young master, who stood up again after taking it, came from this city's Song clan. It was a coincidence. Li Qingyang's friend was the Song's second young master. One was the number 1 genius of Azure Sun City, and the other was the number 1 genius of Sun City. The two met in the wild and had their eyes on the same ferocious beast. In the end, they became friends. Later, when the Song's second young master was paralyzed in bed, Li Qingyang went to visit him but was rejected. Since then, the two didn't contact each other. It was only recently that he learned from the Drizzle Hall that his friend, who he hadn't contacted for many years, stood up again with the help of the sect master's healing pill. TSK. Jun Changshao said, not only did my healing pill save you, it also saved your friend. Perhaps this is fate. Li Qingyang said seriously, that's why I went to visit this old friend, hoping to persuade him to join the Iron Bone clan. Jun Changshao said, that will depend on how you persuade them. Although he did not care about the aptitude of his disciples, he would not mind filling the remaining vacancies with superior-grade spiritual roots. There were many roads leading to Sunyang City. Jun Changshao chose a mountain path and estimated that they would arrive in an hour. However, when he brought his disciples to a mountain, he vaguely heard a roar coming from the depths of the mountain. Li Qingyang said, Sect leader, the ferocious beasts are attacking humans. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, let's go take a look. Everyone followed the voice. Soon, they saw a leopard lowering its head and biting a human on a huge rock in front of them. His clothes were torn, and there were claw and bite marks on his back. Blood flowed all over the ground. Kill it. Jun Changshao said, see if there are any crystal cores. Swish. Li Qingyang used the cloud-treading steps and flew over. The cold-edged sword in his hand shook and immediately formed a sword light, cutting off the head of the lower second-grade leopard. Puchi. The chest was cut open, and the crystal core rolled down. It's worth it, Jun Changshao said. It was definitely worth it to get a crystal core. Li Qingyang picked up the crystal core and then came to the person who was bitten. He put a hand on his neck and shook his head. Sect leader, he's already dead. It's fate. There's no other way. Jun Changshao said, let's hurry on. Ferocious beasts were everywhere in the mountains. Since they came in, they naturally had to be prepared to die. Okay. Li Qingyang put his sword back into its sheath. But just as he took a step, he suddenly stopped, looked down at the corpse, and then grabbed it. There was a small pit under the corpse, and a girl covered in blood was curled up inside. Sect leader. Li Qingyang said, there's a girl. Jun Changshao turned around. When he saw Li Qingyang lifting the corpse, he immediately recognized it. Wasn't this the old man from Liang City yesterday? Could it be? He walked over and looked into the pit. It was indeed the 7 or 8-year-old girl who called him Grandpa Lu. The little girl seemed to be extremely scared. Her body was curled up and trembling non-stop. Grandpa Lu, after a while, when she saw the old man's corpse, she could no longer control her emotions and burst into tears. Li Qingyang said, Sect leader, this old man must have pressed her down to protect her and used his body to bear the bites of the ferocious beasts. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, if you're not strong enough, don't walk the unorthodox path. In the mountains, a small mound was piled up. The stone wall was engraved with the words, Grandpa Lu's grave. The little girl knelt in front of him, her eyes swollen from crying. Sect leader. Li Qingyang couldn't bear it and said, "This child is so pitiful. Why don't you take her in as a disciple?" He had already learned what happened in Liyang City yesterday from his junior brother. He knew that the little girl had no parents. Now that the old man had died for her, she didn't have any relatives. How pitiful it was to live alone in this world. Although he had killed many people and became much more decisive, Li Qingyang was still kind at heart. Jun Changshao said, "Okay." He was not a cold-blooded and heartless person. Since he met her in the mountains, he could only take her in. He couldn't let a young girl like her be alone in the wilderness. Back then, because Lu Wanchur cried, he took her in as a disciple. Some readers called him the Holy Mother. Today, he took in another little girl. He was already mentally prepared. Ling Xue. Here. Carry her away. Huh. Ling Yuanxue still obeyed the sect leader's order and carried the little girl. However, the little girl cried and wanted to accompany Grandpa Lu. Let's go to Sunyang City. Jun Changshao led the disciples and continued on their way. The little girl, called Menjing, kept crying and throwing a tantrum. Her tear-filled eyes kept looking at the tombstone. Although Grandpa Lu was not related to her by blood, he was her only family in this world. Now, he was gradually leaving and disappearing. After Jun Changshao and the others left, the newly built graveyard suddenly trembled. The tombstone fell and the soil was overturned. Shwa! Suddenly, a skinny hand reached out from the graveyard. The dead old man slowly crawled out from inside. If this scene was seen by others, they would probably be scared to death. Huff! The old man sat on the tombstone and gasped for breath. He was still alive. He didn't die. Child. After a short rest, the old man looked at the direction where Jun Changshao left and said in an old voice, "My deduction will not be wrong. Iron bone is definitely not simple. I hope you can become stronger in this sect in the future." No. He paused and said, "Live a carefree life." Shwa. 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 Several martial artists in black appeared and lined up neatly behind the old man, as if they were strictly trained soldiers. Guardian Lu. One of them whispered, "When will we return to the Demon Mountain?" The beggar-like old man stood up. A black aura instantly shrouded his body, forming a pitch-black armor. His turbid eyes became extremely cold. He said, "Young master's future has been arranged. It's time for us lowly lives to follow the demon master." On this day, dozens of black streams of light flew away. The gloomy aura they emitted shocked the birds and beasts in the mountain and killed them on the spot. Chapter 264. Because they wasted some time on the road, Jun Changshao took 4 hours to reach Sun City. Grandpa Lu. The girl who cried herself to sleep on Ling Yuanxue's shoulder would occasionally call out in her sleep. Sect leader. Li Qingyang looked at her and said, "This little girl is so pitiful." Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "There are many pitiful people in the world, we can't save every one of them." Understood. Li Qingyang knew that the sect leader was just saying it. Saving him, saving junior brother Xiao, and even saving this little girl meant that he was kind in his heart and was just hiding it. A qualified disciple wouldn't say it even if they knew. If Lu Qianqian was here, she would have exposed him and used words to attack the sect leader. Let's go. Jun Changshao said, "Let's enter the city." Same old rules. After entering Sun City, they went directly to the city lord's manor and told him that they were recruiting disciples. The Sun city lord also received the news that many Iron Bone disciples had won the county championship, so he naturally wouldn't object. He had the same thoughts as city lord Ao. The matters between the sects should be settled by the sects and had nothing to do with them. Sun City Square. The gate representing Iron Bone clan stood up once more. This time, it was very successful. The 100 Sect Alliance didn't cause any trouble. After some publicity, they recruited another 100 people, increasing their members from 602 to 712, and their contribution points from 104 to 214. It seems like we need to go to the other 4 cities to recruit more disciples, Jun Changshao muttered. Sect leader. At this moment, Li Qingyang walked over, followed by a handsome teen. This person was the second young master of the Song family, Song Xianzhou. This number 1 genius of Sun City was arrogant in the past, but now that he stood up again, his personality had become more mature and introverted. Sect leader Jun, Song Xianzhou, cupped his hands and said, I have heard a lot about you, nice to meet you. He had heard about the Iron Bone long ago. He also knew that his good friend Li Qingyang had joined this sect, so he had always been very interested in it. He had originally planned to recuperate in his family for a period of time before paying a visit. Young Master Song. Jun Changshao said, Qingyang should have told you. Are you interested in joining Iron Bone? Schwa. Song Xianzhou cupped his fists and said seriously, if sect leader Jun doesn't mind that I used to be a paralyzed person, I'm willing to join the Iron Bone clan. Jun Changshao said, this seat is thirsty for talent. Why would I dislike it? Pa. The entry form was stamped with a seal. The number of members and contribution points increased by 1 point, and Iron Bone had gained another genius with high aptitude. My name is Song Xianzhou. Song Xianzhou cupped his fists and said respectfully, greetings, sect master. What's your cultivation level now? 10th level meridian opening. If he hadn't been paralyzed for so many years, he would have already become a martial disciple. Jun Changshao thought to himself, this realm is just right for him to cultivate the muscle bone strengthening scripture. I can focus on nurturing him. Go home and say goodbye to your parents. Sect master, I already said goodbye to my parents when I came out. So fast. Li Qingyang transmitted his voice, Sect master, I told junior brother Xianzhou what you said when you recruited me. He has great expectations for our Iron Bone's future. So that's why. Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, let's return to the clan. Under the gazes of many Sun City cultivators, he left with a group of disciples. Sigh. The various forces hiding in the dark all shook their heads and sighed. Song Xianzhou stood up again with the help of a healing pill. They had come early, hoping to recruit him. However, Patriarch Sun announced that his son had just recovered and needed time to recuperate, so he rejected all recruitment. Who would have thought that Iron Bone would snatch him away? Patriarch. In the Song clan's hall, an elder said with an ugly expression, isn't it a little inappropriate for Xianzhou to join Iron Bone? Yes. Another elder said, Jun Changshao not only offended Qin Haoren, he also offended Sacred Spring Sect. Xianzhou joining this clan is really not a wise move. The Song clan elders were all against Song Xianzhou joining Iron Bone. This was not contempt or belittlement, but too much trouble. How could he survive in the martial arts world in the future? Old Master Song said, Xianzhou joining Iron Bone is his own choice. As his father, I naturally support him unconditionally. This Patriarch Song was much more open-minded than Patriarch Li. Of course. This was also the reason why Iron Bone had become famous recently. If it was the 100 sects recruiting, they would definitely be like Patriarch Li and oppose their son joining this unranked clan. The Song clan elders all fell silent. Since the Patriarch had said so, it was useless even if they opposed. After the meeting, Old Master Song stood at the window of the study with his hands behind his back and said, joining Iron Bone is your own choice. No matter how difficult the road in the future is, you must persevere. Iron Bone. Jun Changshao brought his disciple back and was arranged by Li Qingyang. What made him worried was that the little girl had not walked out of her sadness. She was still hiding in the corner of the room. He asked her name but she did not say it. How was he going to recruit her? Patriarch. Lu Wancher volunteered, I'll go and ask. N. Jun Changshao said. At this time, he could only let the older loli persuade the younger loli. Lu Wancher made a few dishes and then entered the room. Munch munch. Not long after, the sound of eating could be heard. Jun Changshao looked from the window and saw the little girl holding a pair of chopsticks and eating in big mouthfuls. She even said in a childish voice, Sister Lu, the dishes you made are so fragrant. Sure enough, there were very few people in this world who could resist the temptation of delicious food. Patriarch. Lu Wancher pulled the little girl's hand and walked out. She smiled and said, her name is Yao Menjing. She is willing to join Iron Bone. She took out the entry form, filled in her name and stamped it. Jun Changshao sent a message, this little brat is really down, talk to her. N. Lu Wancher said, Patriarch, can Menjing and I stay in the same room? No problem. After settling the second batch of disciples, Jun Changshao headed to Yaoyang City once more. The alliance in Yaoyang City was really unfriendly. After all, Spirit Fountain Sect was wiped out by that fellow. So right after he placed his face on the square, they came over to find trouble. Not happy. Jun Changshao said calmly, fight with my disciple. If you win, leave immediately and don't go down the mountain to recruit disciples. Thus, Yixingchen stood on the fighting stage and fought one after another. In a short time, he defeated 30 alliance elders. Night Emperor was much more vicious than Xiao Ziji. He would probably need to lie in bed for 3 to 5 months to recover. After dealing with these bunch of fleas, the recruitment began. 2 hours later, he recruited 100 disciples. For the next few days, Jun Changshao went to Huayang City, Zhenyang City, and Shouyang City. After the 100 Sect alliance suffered twice, they did not dare to find trouble again, so the recruitment went very smoothly. Pa! He stamped the Patriarch's seal again and a crisp system notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Sect members, 10001000. Ding! Sect contribution points, 50210000. When Jun Changshao brought the newly recruited disciples back to the sect, the next day, the system determined that they met the requirements. The sect mission board in the mission pavilion was filled with missions. From the recommended stars, as long as the disciples complete all the missions, the construction should be able to reach level 4. Jun Changshao rubbed his hands. Level 4 construction opened the Talisman Pavilion. Patriarch Jun was really looking forward to it because he might be able to create Talisman of Insight, Talisman of Endurance, Talisman of Speed, and other talismans. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.